And welcome to episode 11 of Down Underworld Denizens. And we'd like to start off this episode with a commentator question. So I'm going to ask my two fellow commentators, if you could be teleported to an event and teleported out straight after the award ceremony, which tournaments around the world would you attend and why?
Yeah, I might jump in first. I'm going to be greedy and take two. I thought we could divide this up into kind of somewhere in the Americas and somewhere in Europe, just because, I want more than one pick. So if I could go anywhere in Europe, I'm going to pick Full Beard Cup. Now that might really surprise you. It's not probably in a lot of people's radar of top tournaments to attend, but I would just like the opportunity to go to Warhammer World. And I know I can't go sightseeing wherever I go because I've been teleported, but I thought the advantage of going to Full Beard Cup is, obviously in between rounds, it would give me the opportunity to perhaps visit Forge World, and I've always wanted to go to Warhammer World, so why not combine the two and go to a Blood Bowl tournament at Warhammer World in Bugman's Bar, no less.
The problem
So
with
there
that plan, Babs, is relying on having time between rounds, and that's not something that you can boast all that often, mate.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm definitely not playing vampires then. But I think also, yeah, you have to take Games Workshop miniatures to that event. So,
So you're also not taking your vampires.
well, not those ones. Yeah, and so I guess that could be another part of the fun reason why I'd want to go is, take some really, really old school GW miniatures to the event. I was thinking maybe I could take the old Chaos Pact miniatures from second edition, including maybe some of the never released ones by Phil Bowen from way back in second edition, which got featured in White Dwarf, so you could prove it if you had an old enough edition of the White Dwarf magazine. But yeah, it was never publicly released, so that would be really fun. Take something like that to Full Beard Cup. So and my second one in the Americas, there's lots of good options, but I reckon the one I'd really like to try would be Border Princes. Now, Border Princes is quite an established tournament. It's been running for quite a while. It's technically in Canada, but only just across the river from the US, hence the name Border Princes. And it's held at a gentleman's house. It's been running it for years, and it's fully catered. So you can camp, although apparently camper vans are becoming more and more common. And yeah, basically it's in this gentleman's backyard, and yeah, there's lots of lawn, and apparently in between rounds you can go and take a swim in the river. So there you go. That'd be my pick.
What about you, Will?
I've always had a bit of a hankering to try and get, well, been to follow along with at least the Chaos Cup, which this year is going to be hosted in Florida, I believe. Being one of the big majors, but also the most appropriate for a lot of the teams that I follow. The Chaos Cup would be an awesome big event to get to. And since Babs was picking two, I figure if I pick one from Europe, it'd have to be Euro Bowl, wouldn't it? Just for the spectacle, the sheer size of the event, and I suppose the hubris to get another Aussie team along and see if we can stick it up.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Love it.
confident we do have a Euro Bowl team for 2025, and the tournament organisers for Euro Bowl in Hungary have actually just they got sold out faster than they were expecting. I think they got to 800 coaches, and they said, "Oh, we've sold out." And then they went back to the venue, measured everything up, and came back and said, "Oh, I reckon we can squeeze another 120 coaches." So they're now saying the cap's 920. Just huge. I mean, that's got to be the biggest event outside of the World Cup, surely.
It'd have to
Have to
be.
be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a bit like both of you guys. I've actually chosen a North American one and one in Europe as well. My North American would be Oklahoma Bowl, or more specifically the Oklahoma Bowl weekend. So that would include the Spiky Cup on the next day.
Oh,
Um,
is that
I've
cheating?
been
That's technically two tournaments.
well. Okay, well, if I can only do one, it'll be Oklahoma. But ideally, yeah, you'd let me go for the weekend. I've been listening to both down like from the inception. I've long time listener of many different podcasts, and originally I was thinking I'd love to go to Slurpee Bowl, but that just Slurpee or the Slurp what they call the Slurpcast. Sorry, yeah, they took a hiatus for quite a while there, and just sort of disappeared off my radar. So Oklahoma Bowl would be my one to go to in North America, and then going over to Europe. I've chosen Thrud Bowl. I think it's just a great event. It's there for supporting mental health and looking out for people and so on. I think it'd just be an awesome event. And probably the biggest reason I'd go is I could finally take my humans because I actually have a Thrud Blood Bowl miniature. I know they're
I
pretty
thought,
rare, but I'd love to.
I thought you had an itch to compete in most floodlight.
I could probably win that hands down. Uh, But if I wasn't allowed to go to Thrud Bowl, I'm actually jumping on board with Babs here and going to the Full Beard Cup because I would love to take my undead team. Now, my undead team, I collected a couple of Blood Bowl miniatures way back in the day, but my mummies are actually mummies from Hero Quest. My zombies and my skeletons are zombies and skeletons from Hero Quest. And I've got one ghoul, which is like a 40K, way back in the day, some 40K ghoulish looking thing. And I'd love to just rock up to the tournament and have some young whippersnapper, 25 years old or something, come up and say, "Oh, no, you can only use GW miniatures." And I'd just like to turn around and say, "Look, these were miniatures before you were born, buddy."
Yeah, I think we both come with our evidence. Here's our proof our teams are legit GW.
Ah, but if it's Hero Quest, that's Milton Bradley, technically, isn't it?
It does have Games Workshop on the side of the box. I'll have to
It's
take my box
yeah,
with me too.
it's still a Games Workshop. It's still a Games Workshop product for sure. I mean, that's like trying to claim Blitz Bowl isn't a Games Workshop game. Yeah, because it's Barnes and Noble, of course.
Yeah.
So speaking of news, I mentioned Eurobowl briefly increasing their numbers to 920. There's some pretty big news out in the Blood Bowl community of late. And actually, there has been a vote by all members of the NAF organisation. That's the actual, working organisation. And the president of the NAF, Shirokov, has actually been removed from office. This has caused a big storm. And in fact, I heard a little bit of chitter chatter from the Gold Coast Cup. There's a few people saying, look, I think it's not a good look for the NAF. And I think that's probably fair comments, probably not a good look. But yeah, but there was a vote, and the vote was something like 46 votes to remove the president, 12 votes not to. So that was from apparently 84 different people who have a responsibility on the NAF had an opportunity to vote, and not everybody voted, but that was the final call. By the charter, by the constitution of the NAF, that meant that the vice president automatically took the role of presidency, which I guess, when you think about what the role of a vice president is, that's kind of what they do. And that became Dream Creator. And now he basically just said, well, given what happened, I'm going to resign. So he chose to resign. But before he resigned, he did one other action. That action step was he actually called for a new election for a new president. So I think it's caused a big fuss online. A lot of people saying, what is going on? What's happening? I think it's worthwhile just pausing for a moment, just having to think about it. Millsy, have you been involved in things like this in the past?
Well, not necessarily like to this level, but I've been involved in committees and so on, and I've been a vice president of several sporting organisations and so on. And one of those roles was if the president was not there or got stood down, that the vice president steps up and takes that role. And one of the kind of the really disheartening things I saw on Facebook and heard through Discord and so on, the amount of people that called just kind of like a knee-jerk reaction calling for, well, if the president's gone, then the vice president, we should be voting on it. But I think we actually have voted on that because once you vote in a president, they nominate their vice president, and we, the NAF people, voted for that person. I don't think we had quite as near enough votes as what NAF members we have, and that might be a telling thing we can sort of get to later on. But by the democratic process of electing the NAF president and knowing that the NAF president elects a vice president, then I don't think we actually have anything to complain about on that.
Well, just adding to that though, the NAF forums aren't exactly the easiest thing to navigate to begin with, and being that all of the voting happens on the NAF website forums, which fair enough that they should be, but they're not the easiest thing to navigate and to read. They're a bit antiquated by modern standards for software. They've had announcements all over the place on Facebook, but a lot of them didn't even have links to just click to follow. So when you have an election for a tournament for a organization that has hundreds of thousands of members across the globe, and less than 1,000 people actually voted in the election, that tells me that there's something going on that needs to be looked at behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, there has been a lot of clamoring, but before we get to kind of action steps, I think I just want to pause and say, look, I actually kind of understand why the NAF aren't providing further detail. And I guess I just want to pause and say we at Down Under World Innocence have absolutely nothing to do with it. None of us had a say in anything, and rightly so. We actually made a decision not to go asking people various questions. I think actually I want to respect Shirokov and I want to respect the NAF and say, look, they've made a decision not to air, the nitty gritty detail to, respect the wishes of the people involved. And I think there's a time and a place for those things to be public, and there's a time and a place for it not to be.
Absolutely.
And so I think what I would say is I want to encourage people who are NAF members to just trust the process and trust that the decision has been made on first of all, good grounds. Like there was obviously something unsettling, something unhelpful. I mean, for the vote to go 46-12 or whatever it did, tells you that there was enough people concerned that they felt there was a need to remove the president. And I don't think that there's any great conspiracy theory there. I think that there's obviously been an issue with Shirokov and his presidency that meant that was the right decision. And I guess that it really shouldn't have come as much of a surprise. If you go and have a look at the platform that Shirokov was elected under, it was a very controversial platform. The things that he was saying he wanted the NAF to do was absolutely a very, very, very big, bold, brassy call. And I remember at the time of the election thinking, gee, is all this stuff going to get through? And I remember reading a comment where people said, no, it's not all going to get through because it's got to get through the NAF executive, and they will stand up against the things that they don't think are right for the organisation. I remember that discussion happening even before he'd stepped into the presidency shoes. Well, I think it's kind of played out that way. And I do know that there has been a lot of tussle over exactly what the NAF should be and exactly what they should change. And it's reached a point where there was basically a tussle for power. And I think it probably crossed a line somewhere, and there was a vote by the members of the NAF, and they decided that's it. That's what needs to happen. That's what needs to occur. But on the flip side, I do just want to pause and say, look, I think I actually was very, very happy as an NAF member myself under Shirokov's presidency. When you look at the things that were achieved under his presidency, there's a lot of really good things that came out. Now, it may not have been him, it may have been other members, but I just want to say I thought the NAF was heading in a really positive direction personally. What do you guys reckon?
Yeah, well, there's quite a number of things that happened under his presidency, and like you said, some of those things could have been in the pipelines already, but he was definitely at the helm when that occurred. Things like every single one of my NAF games now is recorded, so we have that non-NAF. That's a thing that we didn't have before Shirikoff was in. So that's a good thing from my point of view.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's, in my opinion, that's how it should have been from day one. But obviously, there was a lot of people against that um, on traditional grounds, you might say. I just don't understand from an individual's perspective why you wouldn't want to have every game recorded, even if it doesn't count for points.
So I think it's a great positive, and that's only the beginning. I mean, there's now all the digital badges online that track how many how many different team types you played, and how many countries you played tournaments in, and
How many
recognizes
tournaments you've
tournament.
organised?
Yeah, like all that stuff is happened under the presidency. Another one is the NAF have got brand spanking new Wizzy trophies, like the NAF trophy for winning a tournament. They've now got a special team variant version where if you win a team tournament, each member of the winning team gets one, which is pretty cool. That's a new thing. And it's not the only thing. The tournament series badges is another thing. Now, I do think they might have been in the works before Shirokov took office, but the fact is we've actually got, and in fact, here in Queensland, I've literally got them on my recording desk right now. These badges, or they actually got pins on them. They're actually pinned, and they're about, I don't know, 8 centimeters tall. They're actually massive, big things, metal things. They're fantastic, and they recognise the overall winners and second place and third place and stunty champion of tournament series. Again, new initiative by the NAF. Again, up and running under Shirikov.
Yeah, what's not to like about all of those things that have come about? It just harkening back to what I said before. I think there was a bit of I think just a bit of a knee-jerk reaction from a lot of people in the community, especially from the posts and so on that I saw. And I think we've just got to we've got to sit back. I don't think the NAF committee took their vote lightly, or took the proceedings to even do the vote lightly. Like there must be a reason, and I don't think that needs to be aired publicly. I put myself in that position. If I was one of the people that was maybe getting ousted or whatever it was, I don't think I'd like my laundry aired out for all to see. I think the committees acted in the best interests of the NAF. And I think we just need to trust the process of, like we've elected these people into the committee, and we've got to trust that they can do the job for us.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I think there's no reason to leap at shadows here. I think, yeah, you're right at that. I guess at first glance it doesn't look great. It's been something that's been necessary to occur. But I think I'm glad it happened. I actually think obviously there was something there that needed to happen. I'm actually pleased that they decided to take action to protect the NAF, and there'll be a vote. And there's been some really good discussion, and there's been a decision that actually we probably need to overhaul the NAF charter as a result of it all. And I think that's probably also a good move. So, and in fact, I think that's another thing that happened under Shirokov too, is the board of ethics that and the code of conduct has all happened under Shirokov. So, I just, yes, I'd like to go on the record of saying thank you, Shirokov. Thank you for being president. I may not have worked out perfectly in the end. Might have meant you've had to step down, and felt it's been a little bit ungracious in the way that's occurred. But I just want to say, I think the NAF's actually in a better position post your presidency than before. And now whether that's because of you or because of the other members of the committee, don't know. But either way, I think it's actually a good thing. And I think the fact that the NAF have been really public about what's happened in the areas they can be, and they've said, right, well, now this is according to the charter, this is what happens, and now there's going to be another vote for another president. I just think that the key moral story of the story here is going to be, let's make sure we don't have another vote where less than 1,000 people or only 1,000 people vote for the president out of, as Will said, I think there's 31,000 members in the database that are active, something like that. So
Yeah, well, that's just it. Everybody's vote counts. And like I said, if there was knee-jerk reactions or people didn't like what they did, here's everybody's chance to have their say, whether they stand up for the role themselves or they vote in the person that they want. It is it's a democratic process, and every person's vote counts. So maybe we need to be on the NAF website a bit more often, or their Facebook page, and saying, please post these links up, like Wilkes was talking about. Maybe the voting was hard to find. So let's get our voice out there and make every vote count.
All right. While we're kind of in the news, is there other news items we want to talk about?
I'm doing a tournament. I've got my first paid person.
Hey, first Rego for
Yay!
Bundy Cup.
First Rego for the Bundy Cup. And it was actually the person that convinced me to have it. So Watto, when we interviewed the Western Australian boys earlier on in an earlier podcast, sort of reached out and said, hey, I'll be over there in April if you want to put a tournament on. And I thought, well, sure, why not? So I've organised this little tiny tournament series held here in Bundaberg, and Watto was actually the first person to pay his attendance fee. So he'll be getting some swag and having 4 wonderful games of beach bowl.
Brilliant.
I might have to try and make it just to catch up with Watto again. That'd be awesome.
Well, there you go. I've almost got my second one. Just need the money off you, Wilts.
Give it a plug.
One step at a time, buddy. There's 2 more events in between that.
Yeah, true.
Give it a quick
That's
plug,
probably
Millsy. Where is it? When is
give
it?
it a plug. It's the Bundy Cup. It's going to be held over 3 rounds. The first one is on the 26th of April. It's going to be a Saturday. We've got a 10 o'clock, like kind of a late start, just for those people in the southeast corner of Queensland that want to do some travelling or come down from Rocky or somewhere like that. So they got plenty of time to wake up in the morning, travel up, have 4 games of Blood Bowl, and finish early enough that they could head on back down to their respective homes, or even spend the weekend here in sunny Bundaberg and come to our beaches, go and visit the Bundaberg Brewery. We've actually got 2 of them. We've got the Bundaberg Rum Factory and also the Bundaberg soft drink range here. So they can go to both of those venues and check them out. I know they have tours that you can do. You might have to book in for those tours beforehand. But now, yeah, if you want to come and have 4 games of just some zany, wacky beach bowl, come on down. I've been in contact with Tats to get some dice. That's his kind of new stick that he's doing. He's still doing his 3D printing, but I reached out to him and said, "Look, this is the logo I want. Can you do it?" And he got back to me within half an hour. Said, "Yes, I can." Showed me a one that he tested out already to see whether it worked, and said, "Look, I've got this." It's like, oh my God, that's so quick. So I've ordered a heap of those. I've ordered 3 different sets for all 3 of my Bundy Cup tournaments, and then I reached out and said, "Oh, this ball carrier token. You've told me you can do some fiddling with some 3D files," and so he's put my logo onto a ball carrier token as well. So it's like the guy can do anything, and it was just so quick that he's gone and done it. So if anyone is interested in dice or 3D teams or 3D anything, go and check out Tat's Tabletop, because he's the man.
And I'm joining right alongside you, Millsy. I have plans for dice for the Fractal Frenzy, which is my tournament coming up in May. Lots of sevens variants there. 1-day event in Rockhampton if anyone's interested. $20 entry. Yeah, I'd love to see some people make the trek to that. I'm
Don't you mean dollary dues?
Yeah,
Dollary dues.
$20 dues. I'm definitely using Tats for that, and I've already designed logos for some block dice and logos for a couple of D6. So you really want to commend that. And I also have plans to similarly use Tats for some other little bits of swag in terms of, he's got 3D printing capability, as we just heard, for ball carrier tokens with Bundy Cup. I've got something in the works from Tats for Tournament of Champions next year. So, lots of opportunity to use Tats Tabletop to get some amazing swag for your event. So if you're a tournament organizer listening in, strongly encourage you to have a chat with Chris at Tats Tabletop and see what he can do. And everybody wins.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's brilliant.
That's brilliant.
Yes. And speaking of tournament registrations, Eucalyptus Bowl is going off.
It's gone through the roof. It's insane.
It's off the chain.
Went on sale. I think it's only went on sale a couple of days ago, and I believe there's been more registrations than there have been maximum attendance at a Eucalyptus Bowl in 2 days, 3 days, something like that. So
Yeah,
I
I
believe,
think. Sorry, Babs. I was at
yeah,
the biggest number they have ever had was 76. That was back in like 2011 or something like that. Was the most numbers it ever had at a eucalyptus bowl, and I think they even passed that on the first day. I know we're above 80 now, but yeah, I think they passed that,
yeah, 86 last I heard.
and rightly so. It's going to be the 20th anniversary. I know they've some fantastic swag. I know some people behind the scenes working on some of those things. We get a pitch. There's all of this really cool stuff. So if you haven't heard about Eucalyptus Bowl, where have you been all your life? Jump onto Facebook, type in Eucalyptus Bowl, and you'll find out everything you need to know.
Yeah, and get along. I mean, it is not just the 20th anniversary. It is, as always, or has been for a long time, the fifth major. So we do have an international traveller coming specifically for Eucalyptus Bowl because it is a major. So yeah, Maverick, I think he might be connected with Black Hawk Down, the company that makes dice and trophies and things.
Well, he's
Yeah,
sponsored by them at least, yeah.
yeah, right. Well, anyway, he's coming down for Eucalyptus Bowl all the way from the UK.
Yeah, and his goal is to actually do all five majors in a single year. So Eucalyptus Bowl being one of those, he's going to come on down. So I can't wait. I hope I get a chance to play him.
Yeah, I know they've got plenty of room in the venue yet because James, being a bit forward thinking, has booked the larger of the rooms available for playing at Burwood RSL. So there is plenty of room yet. So if you haven't got your ticket, definitely get one. It will not to be missed. It'll be great to see. I'm predicting that it will be the first tournament in New South Wales, first Blood Bowl tournament in New South Wales to get over 100 coaches. That's my prediction.
Do we want to give a last minute shout out to Cane Toad Cup coming up?
Yeah, that's news that Kanto Cup sold out 60.
He hit 60.
Yeah, he hit 60. We're not talking about IQ, we're not talking about age, we're talking about Regos.
Right.
And that
Yeah,
would be
that's
the
massive.
largest Queensland tournament for Blood
By
Bowl.
far, by far. I mean, Kanto Cup equaled it last year with 42. So to jump from there to 60, that's a big percentage increase. It's massive.
Yeah, I've heard there's a few interlopers from other states that are sort of coming along because they've heard how well we're doing things up here in sunny Queensland, and good luck to them. I hope they go back with their tails between their legs and we take everything.
But look, I think it's great. I think it's one of the advantages of Stratford being a tournament organizer. Like, he's very well travelled. He's seasoned. He knows a lot of the who's who in the zoo around the Australian Blood Bowl scene, and he's got those connections, and therefore he's able to promote it into those areas. And you know, great to see some. I think it's great to see some Victorians and some New South Welshmen up for a bit of a battle. I don't know whether there's anybody else coming from other states, but it's great. I think it's fantastic. I think you know, I think just to quote another podcast, more Blood Bowls, more better.
Well, Captain Prosecco would have to be back to defend his championship as a Stunny King, wouldn't he?
And I'm gonna have a crack at that.
Yeah, well, that is one of your goals for the year, isn't it? To play stunty at all the 11 tournaments. Have you
Yeah,
have you
yeah.
settled on a team yet, Babs?
Oh, look, I wasn't even going to come to Cane Cup, but a certain Millsy was very persuasive.
I might have twisted your arm a little, yeah. I wouldn't be the same without you, Babs.
Well, yeah,
Well,
we'll see how we go. I'm hoping to be there.
Millsy and I have done a couple of road trips on our own, but and I'll be doing one later with Stewie heading up to Cairns. But yeah, more people in the car makes the conversation a bit less one dimensional.
Oh, so there's no substance to me. Thanks,
No,
Wilts.
no, that's not at all implied or said. But it just adds a bit more variety. So we're not just it goes more in a circle rather than just in a straight line.
Yeah, no, I get you, mate. No worries. Yeah, yeah, it'd be fantastic to have Babs along there as well. I know we're going to be hooking up down there and staying with Dr. Nick. So we got a nice cheap little residence for the weekend. And I think we're even going to do a record down there with Dr. Nick because I've got a bit of a quiz coming up that, I'd like a few more commentators for. So, yeah, the more people, the better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And in fact, in breaking news, that's what we're going to do. Episode 12 is have a quiz special. So episode 12, down under World Denizens, stay tuned. We got lots of positive feedback about our last quiz. So we thought, well, why not lean into that? And so, yeah, we've decided to clear our decks of guest speakers and just have an episode where we lean into the quiz.
Yeah, what's not like about that?
Quizmaster Millsy's been hard at work already from what he's reported.
Yeah, hey, that's not just me. I think Babs has got a bit of a quiz under his belt there too that he wants to unleash.
Oh, 2 quizzes in one episode.
I've got a couple percolating, actually, whether they both make the light of the day for next episode or not. We'll have to wait and see.
Hey, speaking of some breaking news, our last tournament we've just had was the Brisbane City Bash. We might start off with Babs and I recorded this tiny little segment there, so let's have a listen to this and we'll chat after this.
And we are at Brisbane City Bash, bright and early, Sunday morning. So it's not that bright and early. They starting about an hour later than yesterday, and we've had 3 games of 11s and 3 games of 7s on the Saturday, all 3 of us. Wilkes is not joining us for this little snippet because he is here, but he's getting his game face on because he's had a very good day one.
Yeah, he's had an extremely good day one. He's up on the top tables there, so just helping Wilkes out. We thought better let him keep his game face on and not worry about trying to record a podcast. So wishing him all the best with that one. But how'd your games go yesterday, Babs?
Yeah, look, I'm playing Goblins. Does that sum it up? Let's
That
just say I'm trying to shoot for 3 wins, and technically it's still possible at this point, but I have to win both my other games for that to be the case. How about you, Millsy?
Oh, I started off with probably the best game of the weekend. I played Matt Campbell. You might remember him from our Nonners interview. Just a really, really solid technical game. Ended in a turn 16 draw. He got the touchdown back on me there. And then I just sort of went downhill from there until the 7s.
Yeah, and fill us in. So what happened at 7s last night?
Well, 7s brought back my lovely Slan. And funnily enough, in round 1, I faced Matt again. And at one stage, I was a 3+ roll away from going 4-1 up. Failed that 3+ because he got no re-rolls, and he got it back to so I got a 3-2 win, but he pulled it back. Then I went down to humans, 1-0 down, and then I come back with another win and ended up bagging 3rd place.
Which is lovely, lovely. Yeah, I was playing Pro Elves and just couldn't quite get it done. Got one of everything. 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss.
So we're looking forward to day 2. We've got Dylan here with us who wants to say a quick hello.
Yeah, Dylan. Hey everyone, what's going on?
Yeah, so this is our podcast, Down Under World Denizens. Dylan is the tournament organiser for Brisbane City Bash and one of the managers of World Games.
Owners of World Games,
yeah. So, Dylan, anything you want to say to our listeners?
Well, at World Games we enjoy playing really dumb games like Blood Bowl because the whole key for us is just having fun. And when you make a football game that is literally fantasy football, like you can't say no to that. So,
yeah, brilliant. Yeah, and if you're in the Brisbane CBD, make sure you drop on in and say boo to the crew in here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, so let's quickly wrap up how we finished at Brisbane City Bash. Our NAF results were literally uploaded the other day, and I took Goblins, and I wasn't expecting to take home the trophy because that definitely wasn't the case. I was in the hunt for that, but I did want to see how far the Unstoppable went. I have to say I did enjoy the sound of thundering hooves on my Goblin team. Did quite enjoy that. I did have a situation where I had 2 losses, 2 wins, and a draw. Now, I was desperately hoping that one of my losses was not NAF, but sadly, the person who I played was NAF, and of course, I lost to Stratford, so that was obviously given before we started. But yeah, so it was mixed results for me. But we were all waiting on seeing what happened to Wilkes.
Yes, so unfortunately, I didn't get a chance for revenge against Kiltane with his Chaos Dwarves. Would have been funny getting two cast dwarf games in the same weekend. Would have been awesome fun. Instead, I had to have the honour of being beaten into the ground by Jawa Knight, Pete Sinclair in North Brisbane. Um, I Though I do have to put my own hand up and say that I tempted fate and got triggered by the tripwire at the end of the first half. So part of it's my own fault, but part of it's Pete just being such a strong competitor and absolutely mulching me into paste in the second half. So after getting a well-deserved drubbing from Jawa, Nuffle decided to grant me a consolation game where the dice were absolutely on fire in my favour, and I do apologise to Andrew with his Orcs. He made a very gutsy play up the sideline and almost pulled it off, and then I was dodging Beastmen left, right, and centre and completely swarmed him. So, sorry, Andrew, for that one. I had a bit more success than I was expecting, and it is a gratifying feeling when your team does what you design it to do, but it's not always the most fun game when that happens. Ended up finishing fifth for the weekend, which was almost what I needed to put my name further up the list. We're still waiting on the team confirmations for the Queensland team to go to the Ausbowl State Championships from Stratty, but we hope to have an announcement on that regard soon.
Yes, all other teams have been announced, and we're just waiting to see because it's close, it's tight, and Wilts is in that mix. So we will just have to wait and see. So stay tuned, listeners, and as soon as we have something to announce, we'll make sure you're kept in that loop. But for now, yeah, Queensland are the last team to announce who's on the squad, and hopefully that will be ready to announce soon.
Do we want to ask Millsy how he went for the weekend, or is the less said the better? Do you think?
We do not want to ask that. I was hoping you guys wouldn't pick up on that I hadn't spoken yet. I had an absolute shocker. I took Necromantic, started off with probably the best game of the weekend. I played Matt Campbell, and he got the turn 16 draw in round one, and it was just a phenomenal game. Like tactics from both sides of us, just doing everything. At one point, I dodged out with a flesh column to get the blitz and picked up the ball, and then on his last turn, I don't know how many dodges he had to do to surround me. He got me, blocked me, popped the ball out, picked it up, and stepped in for the turn 16 touchdown. So good on him for that one. My other really notable game, I played. There was an American guy that had come out. He's just out here on holidays. I don't know his full name, but he's Melkor is what I was calling him and what he was asking.
Chuck.
Had a really, really fun game with him. Got a set of dice that he gave me from the east coast of United States. So he was playing Wood Elves, and it's same again. A turn 16 draw that he got me. I surrounded him so much. On his last turn, he had to pick up the ball in 3 tackle zones, dodge out, 2 go for it. Needed a 6 to throw the ball, threw it on a 6, caught it on a 6 in the end zone, so didn't get it. And
it's an easy game, this Blood Bowl, isn't it?
Yeah,
just roll 6s, it's fine.
Just roll 6s and it works. As for my other 3
well,
losses,
I mean, I don't mean to rub it in or anything, Wills, but all you need to do is roll armor breaks against Norse, right? But it's not as easy as it sounds every game.
Yeah, so as a result, I know enough results of that have just gone up in the last couple of days, and I've plummeted down the rankings with my Necro. So they might be on the shelf for a while, but I do need to raise them back up at some stage. But commiserations, boys. Sorry, we didn't do you well.
At Sports Bash, we're proud supporters of those who have a block. Those who take a 4+, 3+, 3+, 2+ dodge with no reroll on turn 4. Those brave souls who have a crack at taking a skill other than block, guard and dodge to a major. Pile driver? That's courage. This genius is having a crack at a 1-die block on a blodger. First activation. Yep, both down. Having a crack at going for a 3-2 grind. With Nurgle, I could score in 2 turns, right? If you roll only 6s. Yes, we salute those bold enough to have a crack at their 4th throw teammate in a row. With only 8 players left, you can still defend afterwards, I'm sure. Or those trying to bring the bash with Elven Union. They just keep dying. Hang in there, mate. Only 5 more games in the season. And remember, you wouldn't even be playing this game if volunteers didn't just have a crack at writing their own rules for a decade. Sure, those teams are balanced. So here's to all you everyday, true blue, down under BB coaches just having a red hot go. Sports Bash, proud supporters of the 3-die uphill block without block.
Imagine what other non-frustrating, non-geeky, actually healthy hobby you could be enjoying instead. For free BB quit advice, call the helpline on 111 roller 1 1111 skull.
That's brilliant.
Now, today in our podcast, we have a guest speaker all the way from the UK, one of the founders of Squad Chaos. Before we get to that interview, and I do want to give him a proper introduction in a moment, I thought it'd be worthwhile just having a little bit of chat about how Blood Bowl is actually something positive in managing good mental health. Now, it doesn't take too much to work out that Blood Bowl is a form of escapism. Just like, you might go to the movies or you might read a good book, and it just provides that distraction from reality. Blood Bowl's the same. It provides a break from life, and it also provides some goal setting that considered alongside kind of goals for real life. And I do think Blood Bowl is actually something worthwhile talking about in terms of its effect on mental health. In the interview we mentioned a few things, but there are some good ways that Blood Bowl can provide some positive benefits to mental health. And I guess I just wanted to emphasize a few, just the three of us, before we get our guest speaker on. So, personally, I just wanted to share a little anecdote. If you don't know too much about me personally, I've been a school principal, and at the beginning of 2023, or fairly early on in 2023, my school board sat me down and basically said, we're actually going to ask you to leave. That was pretty devastating news, and that was not an easy thing to work through. It wasn't hard for me to get another job, but obviously that was kind of caught up with my real world goals. And I just want to say Blood Bowl has been a really useful tool for me in managing my mental health, in terms of providing other goals for me to pursue, other things for me to focus my time and energy on, so that it just makes the difficulty of having to navigate my professional life just a little easier to bear, with some other things to focus on when I want to. So there's a little bit of my own journey and my own mental health and how I've managed it. What about you guys?
I remember when you reached out to us, Babs, and you told us that information, which is not always easy to do. It's not easy to mention to people things that are holding you back or not so good. But one of the things that I was really happy with, and I'm presuming you are as well, like the amount of people that just jumped on board and said, mate, we're here if you need us. What do you need? And just tried to the amount of friendships that we form in Blood Bowl, and we're all there for everyone. And it sometimes it takes us to reach out to people to actually get something to happen. So if you are going through something, anything, reach out to your Blood Bowl mates. If they can't help you, they might be able to put you in touch with somebody who can. But we're all here for each other. And if we lose one of our Blood Bowl mates, and if Babs had have left and gone, I'd hate to think where the Queensland scene or where I would be, without Babs in there. So just reaching out to people can be a really positive first step. Whilst we're on that, I've been doing Blood Bowl quite a long time, and I have nowadays I have a really good work life. Like I've found my dream job. I'm a teacher, but I've picked up this role of a district relief teacher, and it's just given me a new lease on life. But I know there's many people out there that they're in a job where they don't feel appreciated, or the owners or the bosses sort of don't show them that gratitude. And heaven forbid, there might even be some people out there that might have a spouse that's not fulfilling their the rest of them in many ways. So Blood Bowl is one of those things where you can gain respect. Like if you're doing things in the Blood Bowl world. I have a lot of respect. I think I've got a lot of respect when I go to tournaments. People come up and say, "How you going, Millsy?" All this, and they're sort of relying on me or finding out things about me. And whilst I've got a pretty good life at the moment, there's a lot of people that don't. So, Blood Bowl can give you that respect that you feel that you might be lacking in other areas of your life.
I was just going to say that it's a good excuse to get out of the house and just be sociable with people that you don't get to see every day, whether it's once a month or every couple of weeks for a local league game, or once or twice a year to get down to a tournament and see some players that you don't get to see all the time. God knows I'm hanging out for a game with Zach Gibbs again, because we need to catch up and throw some dice at each other, and it'd be a great time again. Yeah, it's just a good way to be sociable, to get out and meet people, make new friends, and just try and find a positive and fun way to express yourself as well on the table. So it's a great opportunity for that.
Yeah, and it's not just on the table, like I said there, Wilkes. It's not just playing the game. Some people just get a kick out of painting or modeling. There's lots of things. It's not just the game. So if you're into modeling, or if you're into painting, or if you're into playing, or if you're into all three, there's something there where you can feel fulfilled in your life.
Yeah, I just want to second that. Yeah, I actually find just spending an hour or two just painting can be really beneficial. Yeah, really enjoy it. Actually. But yeah, and Blood Bowl's one of those games where you can get right into it. You can name every single player. You can come up with backstories. You can totally immerse yourself in the lore, and I think that can be used as a positive. You can leverage that as just a healthy thing to have in your life, just to provide a nice little circuit breaker. I think that's a good thing. I certainly think attending a tournament can be a really nice way to have something to look forward to, and then good community connect with, and then great stories to tell afterwards. Really, really positive things for mental health.
Which leads us to a special guest feature.
Yeah, Simon Bond, aka Glowworm, or more recently started to be called the Glowfather. Simon has been instrumental in the development of Blood Bowl, and it's now become a behemoth of tournaments amongst those in the UK. Simon is also the father of Squad Chaos, which has a focus on not just playing chaos, but also has a focus on mental health. Let's cross to him now.
There he goes.
Good evening, Mr. Bond.
Have we got video as well? I've
Sorry?
literally just had to download Zoom, guys, so give me a minute.
Yeah,
There I am.
yeah.
Oh, there I am anyway.
Yeah.
I've definitely got a face for radio, yeah, to be fair.
We all do, that's the point.
Real life's just kicked in, and now we're going to get over, and then they've closed roads. We've had one tiny little bit of bad weather, and the entire southwest of England has ground to a standstill, and a major route's been closed because of a patch of ice, and yeah.
Oh, that's kind of like what we're talking about on this episode. Sometimes life gets in the way, doesn't it?
Life quite often gets in the way. But what's the alternative?
Well, this is true.
There we go. There we go. So who am I speaking to? I get Babs as there.
Yep.
Yeah, so you've got Millsy here.
Okay.
My name's Dan, aka Wilts. I'm the third wheel that props up this leaky cart, and we keep it on the road.
You're the one that keeps us on the straight and narrow, I think.
That's yep.
Stops us careering off into the ditch.
No, that's excellent. I do know some of y'all guys from the New World. Obviously, having come across some of the major tournaments, Nome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Garden Gnome, yeah.
And you guys had the greatest, one of the Australian teams, one of the Australian teams had the greatest shirts at Alicante a couple of years back. So I managed to acquire one of those.
Nice.
In trade,
nice.
Which is very nice. And I've actually been abused by an Australian already this morning, a fellow called Jason Webster.
Oh, yeah.
Good on you, Webster.
Yeah. He's had a pop at me this morning already, which is not an unusual occurrence. We tend to throw things backwards and forwards. Me pointing out that everything in your country is designed to kill all human life.
Oh, yeah.
Pointing out how
He
soft
does
we are
post
because we don't live in a country where everything's designed to kill all human life.
No, not human life, mate. Just human spirit.
Mate, he sent me a picture of sharks swimming down the main street a couple of years when they had floods ago. Is it Townsville, which is probably the most Australian-sounding named place ever? And I'm like, you don't have enough predators on land. You're having to import them from the sea to kill you in your cities. You know, come on, guys, behave.
That's a real photo. It wasn't even Photoshop.
That was not doctored, no.
and that's actually where Jason actually lives in Townsville. So
yeah, and I'm like, come on, guys, behave yourselves. We eradicated anything even remotely dangerous to human life in this country hundreds of years ago. So yeah.
All right, we ready to jump in.
Eradicated any semblance of fun in that country hundreds of years ago.
Well, it was depending on which end of the bow or sword you were at, I suppose, or spear or lance you were at, I suppose.
And what didn't kill you? You exported over to our country a couple hundred years ago.
Yeah, pretty much. We've made some questionable decisions and going, oh, look, this is the nicest beachfront real estate in the world. Let's send all our criminals there. We're probably amongst the highlights of our bad decision making.
Should have left us all behind in the old country, and all the rich people could have moved to Australia for free.
Yeah, there you go. See, bad decisions, but we can't. We don't regret it for a minute. Well, yeah, no, we don't regret it for a minute. So yeah, real life.
Yeah. All right, we're ready to jump in and chat a little bit about Blood Bowl and mental health in particular is kind of the focus of the episode. So yeah, we probably are more interested in kind of the initiatives that Squad Chaos take to tie it back to kind of mental health and the intervention steps and the strategies and whatever else you do to support positive mental health.
Well, whatever you guys need. I mean, we don't really have an overarching strategy of how to deal with things. It's much more of a fluidic approach, which we feel is beneficial because everybody has their own demons. Everybody has their own different issues. Everybody deals with things in different ways. So having a really structured approach to anything mental health related could be detrimental to certain people, I suppose. So we tend to approach problems on a one-by-one or case-by-case basis, and we also allow space, and I think that's an important thing. The best thing about Squad Chaos is the diversity that we have. We've got a massive spectrum of people from all walks of life and all countries, which is a good thing as well. A couple of us is on there, I believe. We've got definitely a few Americans. We've got a German-speaking channel, so we've got plenty of Germans and Europeans, and of course loads of Brits. The Maltese, who are celebrating at the moment, I believe. So yeah, and what we tend to find, if somebody has an issue or somebody needs to talk about something, there'll be somebody on there that's been down a similar road, gone on a similar journey, because it's everybody's different. Everybody's issues are slightly different. You can't just say, well, one size fits all. But what'll happen if somebody will come along and say, oh, I've got this, I don't know, I'm being made redundant at work, for instance, and within an hour they'll get 2 or 3 replies from guys saying, oh, that happened to me a few years ago and this is what I did, or have you looked at this, or depending on where you are, would this be an opportunity, or even guys saying, well, what do you do? Because there might be openings where we are. So that's what the whole ethos of Squad Chaos is people making themselves available, I suppose, for other people to avail themselves of advice or recommendations or just being able to offload. You know, is that making any sense?
Yeah. So Simon, back to track up a bit. Just tell us a little bit about, was Squad Chaos originally formed with that purpose, or did that purpose kind of take over Squad Chaos due to a specific incident?
No, Squad Chaos was originally formed as Team Chaos back in 2011 at the Amsterdam World Cup, when we took a sport. Somebody said, "Oh, they're having a World Cup in Amsterdam." We're actually the second World Cup. The first one was in Nottingham, I believe, in 2007. That's right. And there's World Cup in Amsterdam in 2011. And me and another couple of guys said, "Oh yeah, we quite fancy that." And Amsterdam's obviously very accessible for the UK. So we formed Team Chaos on the back of that, and then we went to another couple of team events as Team Chaos, and people joined the team, others left the team. Again, fluidic. I've been with it since the inception. Nazgob, Mike Whitman, since the inception. Abby Moon was in it at the inception. So yeah, and then the next World Cup came along, and we had a server, so we had a little Discord thing going. So then we went to, it'd have been Luca next, wouldn't it? And that's when Squad Chaos really took off, because all of a sudden there were lots of people wanting to go to this Blood Bowl World Cup. And I think you guys will understand when I say that Luca was pretty much the reboot of Blood Bowl. That's when Games Workshop suddenly went, hang on, there's nearly 1,000 people playing one of our games that we have nothing to do with because we've not supported it for years. So we had 2 teams or 3. There were either 12 or 18 of us at that World Cup. And then we had Dawnburn. And again, we took quite a few teams out there. And that's when the community started to grow. The Squad Chaos community started to go. And then we went into a global lockdown. And that's when it really took off, because all of a sudden there were lots of people out there. A lot of people, Blood Bowl, myself included, is our social life. It's what we do when we're not doing real life. And all of a sudden not being able to go and do anything because of the lockdown meant that you had to look elsewhere for your connections. So it grew from that. And unfortunately, during that period, we lost. And I'm phrasing this carefully. I've got no wish to upset anybody. We lost a couple of coaches who found that things were just too much. And that was a massive loss to, myself individually. I lost a very good friend, a coach called Guy Meir, who unfortunately took his own life. And we then generally, at that point, several of us, and Land Rover, again, Guy Meir were a good friend. He was a good friend to all of us, a very big, very brash individual, larger than life. Absolutely looked like the sort of guy that you'd wake up in a bath missing a kidney if you went out drinking with him. But absolutely fantastic fella. Lovely guy. And very active in the southwest of England and the Welsh. He was Welshman, very active in the southwest of England and the Welsh Blood Bowl circuit. Very well respected, not for his results, to be fair. And I'm sure he'd be sat here laughing. Well, he probably is still sat here laughing with me. But just for the fact that he turned up, that he added something. He was one of the guys, you walk into a tournament and you'll see a guy or a couple of guys and you'll smile. You'll instantly think, yeah, this is going to be a good day or a good weekend, irrespective of results. This is going to be a good day. Well, Guy Meir had that effect on people. And Land Rover, myself, Nazgob, and I'm sure I'm doing a disservice because I'm sure there were other people involved, said, you know what, maybe we should start, instead of just chatting about Blood Bowl, maybe we should start looking after each other a little bit more. Because we all do. I can't make that too. Why not? I'm a bit short. Nah, no problem at all, mate. I've got you covered. I'll pay you. It's all right. I'm driving that way anyway. I don't need anything for fuel. We all look after each other in different ways. We all make sure people are fed. We all make sure people are watered. We all make sure people can get to places. But sometimes some people need a little bit more. And sometimes you can give them that little bit more. And sometimes it might, but the next week it might be you that needs a little bit more. So it's a very as I say, it's a very fluid thing. We never really sat down and said, this is our charter, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. It sort of evolved. And I think it's evolved in pretty much a very good direction. There are some things that I might change, some things that I'd love to see us improve on. But in other ways, I think we do okay. We do okay, and I think that should be applauded.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about some of the steps that you do take. Obviously, making people aware that Squad Chaos exists and that it is there for mental health support in a broad sense. Are there other steps that you do to kind of promote mental health initiatives, or fill us in about what steps you actually take in that space?
Well, now we're getting a bit highbrow. You've probably got the wrong guest for the highbrow approach.
Got you on the spot now.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously promote Squad Chaos through our Discord server, and we don't always get it right. We've had incidents in the past, but we try and say to you, if you're putting on a Squad Chaos shirt, then you're representing the squad. So you need to remember that and behave in a manner accordingly. We don't want to see you throwing your dice across the room and swearing and shouting and storming around. And we need to remember it sometimes, and I think we all do, myself included, that we're playing a game, and the other side of the board, if you're ranting and raving, then your opponent's not having any enjoyment, and that's not fair. They paid as much as you for that experience. Why should you spoil it for them? And that's quite a basic. Whereas what we do to mental health is, we're not professionals. We don't claim to be professionals. I've got a mental health awareness and counselling qualification. It's not a particularly high qualification, but it is there. Sometimes there are signs that we see, and we can say to people, look, you might need to speak to somebody about that, or that's not a healthy behaviour. Maybe you need to look at coping strategies or mechanisms for that. But yeah, we don't set ourselves out to be a counselling service as such, more of a light, or hopefully a guidance towards that if needed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I guess you're a community as well, right? And certainly one of the strategies for positive mental health is to cultivate positive social connections, right?
Yeah.
And Squad Chaos, I guess, does that. And attending Blood Bowl events, as a Squad Chaos crew, builds that.
We do try. I mean, one of the things we'll say, and I've said it for years. I said it before I pulled on a Squad Chaos shirt, and I think quite a few others have. If I'm ever sat at a table at a tournament, or anywhere really, to be fair, if I'm ever sat at a table and you want to pull up a chair. You don't need to ask. And if we haven't got a connection, I'm pretty sure, even if it's just, we hate dwarves, or we hate elves, or as long as it's not we hate goblins. But be approachable. Be approachable, and understand that some people will approach you if you're approachable. Find time, and I think that's something I think a lot of people nowadays, everything's so fast, everything moves at a pace. And I think sometimes we forget we need to find time for ourselves, and we also need to find time for people around us sometimes as well. It's nice to just say, whoa, hang on a minute. Sit down and talk to me about what's just happened. Well, okay, right, yeah. Now, imagine yourself on the other side of that. How would that have looked to you? Yeah, well, okay, yeah. And your general, and the other wonderful thing about the Blood Bowl community is that we've got such a range of people. So I sat across at a recent tournament. The first guy I played was a business manager. The second guy I played drove cars he used to deliver hire cars. The third guy I played was an undertaker. The fourth guy I played was a maths teacher. And all those people have different experiences and different things that they can add. And I think we can all learn from other people's experiences. I mean, lived experiences are probably better, but you can't live everything, can you? So, yeah, Squad Chaos does. And, of course, with we're heavily involved with Thrudball, which you must have known I was going to mention at some point. We're heavily involved in Thrudball, which tickets will be going on sale for in March. And last year we sold out in, I think it were about 30 minutes. But that's raising money for charities. So historically, Thrudball raised money for UK cancer charities.
That's it. The Roy Castle Lung Cancer Foundation.
Lung Cancer Foundation. Right. So we did raise money for a different cancer charity before then, but a little bit of background. Carl Critchlow, who is the creator of Thrud the Barbarian, allows us to use Thrud under his copyright, which he protects his intellectual property. So he allows us to use that. And he reached out many years ago to the original founder of Thrud, who was a guy called Frank. I'd only just got involved in the running of Thrud then. So this, we're talking maybe 12, 15 years ago now. And said, little bit of a problem. The cancer charity that you're supporting tests on animals. And I'm against that. So Frank went, right, okay, fine. We will find a cancer charity that doesn't test on animals and we'll support that. And so we reached out to the Roy Castle was a entertainer in this country and appeared on TV. And he unfortunately died of lung cancer, having never smoked in his life, but having played in lots of smoky working men's clubs. So that's why the Roy Castle Lung Cancer Foundation was set up. I actually had the privilege of meeting him once. And the Roy Castle Lung Cancer Foundation said, no, we don't test on animals. It's unlikely we're never going to test on animals. So we went, great, no problem at all. So we moved our funding over to them, shall we say. So it has been involved in cancer research, or we have been involved in raising money for cancer charities for quite some time. It changed a few years back, but still in the same field. And then with the advent of lockdown, and as I say, the mental health crisis that swept across, and I'm sure it was the same in your areas, swept across the community. We decided we could help with that as well. So we added Mind, which is the mental health one of the biggest mental health charities in the country, to our list of donations. And over the last 3 years, I think we've earned about £40,000 in total. I'm pretty sure it's around the £40,000 mark, which we've split between those two charities to support cancer research and mental health, which two of the biggest, it seems to be two of the biggest problems that, certainly the mental health one, we do have problems in our community with people suffering from mental health issues. So we felt it was prudent to support a mental health charity at that point.
So, obviously, I've done a little bit of research for this episode on how to have, how to focus on positives to do with mental health. And I found some stuff that I thought might be worthwhile just talking through how this connects with Squad Chaos. So the first one is be connected with like-minded people. So, and you just mentioned that while we don't come from the same, backgrounds, or have the same jobs, there's definitely things in common that we do have. Not playing the board game. So and then the second one is, as we mentioned before, cultivating positive social connections. And the third one is engaging in enjoyable activities and hobbies. And of course, that could be, collecting Blood Bowl stuff, could be painting Blood Bowl stuff, could be modeling and modifying Blood Bowl stuff, could be playing Blood Bowl. Like all of those things, I guess, can have a positive mental health benefit. And the fourth one is setting goals. Do you do anything like that in Squad Chaos about, I don't know, trying to play all 30 races or something?
The Squad Chaos do. They have I'm not sure if it's ongoing, but a thing where you, because I didn't take part in this, the explanation can be forthwith if need be. But basically they said, right, okay, we'll set down all the Chaos races. So Chaos Pact, Chaos Renegades, Chaos Dwarves, and you had to play them all. I think we ended up with 7 races. Khorne being one of them. I think somebody threw a cheeky Dark Elves in there as well, to be fair. I think there were 7 races, and basically we said if you play all those in a year, you get an acknowledgement. I don't think there were actual prize for doing it, but you got an acknowledgement that you'd done this. I didn't take part because I generally just play goblins constantly, so So I can have a little tipple, shall we say? But yeah, so we've done that as part of the engagement. Squad Chaos itself doesn't really not push people. I don't know how to phrase this. We allow people to move at their own pace, I think is a good way to put it. So you can be as engaged, and we do have some very engaged people, some very, very driven people. You can be engaged as one, or you can sit on the periphery and look in and dip in and out, as is your want. I mean, at the moment, I'm not particularly active on Squad Chaos, rather weirdly. I monitor it and I'm on the Discord occasionally. But I've stepped out for a little bit, only due to the fact that the real life has been hectic for me. And I mean absolutely hectic, as in this morning and my lateness, for instance. This has been scheduled and planned, and then on Wednesday I literally got a curveball and I was away from Wednesday till this morning with work. So I've dipped out a little bit in the of this, but that's the other good thing about Squad Chaos is I'm 100% sure that had anybody gone on there and said, I need this, or can somebody talk to me about this, or I'm just going through this, that they would have had a plethora of replies, plenty of people. And again, with people in different time zones, I've seen guys in the UK at 3 o'clock in the morning saying I'm in a bit of a dark place. And within 20 minutes, a guy from Australia or America said, look, mate, I've never met you. We've never sat across from a table. But again, shared experience. Do you want to talk to me about it? Do you want to drop onto a voice channel and chat? So we have that.
That's good. Is there anything you do about following up on people who go absent? Like, if you have anybody and you go, oh, where's such and such? I haven't seen them for a couple of months. Do you have a check-in point?
Great joy of living in the UK, of course, is you're never really very far away from everybody else. We have no concept of scale. I were in Canada earlier in the year, last year now. Canada, America, Australia. We have no concept of scale compared to these places. I remember saying to an American, it's quite a drive to get there. It's 3 hours. And he just laughed at me. Yeah, well, exactly.
We just had that last weekend. I drove 7.5 hours home from the tournament on Sunday evening.
Yeah. And he just laughed at me. He said, I can drive for 3 hours and I won't come across my neighbour's house. I got off an aircraft in Canada after taking off in Canada and flying for 4 hours and then landing still in Canada. Yeah. My wife in the same week got on an aircraft, flew for 4 hours and got off in Cyprus. Yep. So when we say we've got no concept of scale, we really don't. But the point I'm trying to make is that within our community, and I mean, there are hotspots, but I mean, the Southwest where I am, the Welsh community is very healthy. The Midlands community is very healthy. The Northeast seems to have gone a little bit quiet. So all respect to those guys. If anybody's listening, you might need to shout out a little bit more. But if somebody does disappear, there's generally somebody around that knows them on a more than I've seen him 3 times at a tournament level. I live in the next town over, or he plays in the same league as me. So yes, we have reached out and said, is anybody in this area that we're slightly concerned about this? And we have had at least 2 instances where somebody's posted something slightly worried, and somebody on the community has actually gone to the emergency services and said, look, you might need to send somebody around to this address.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
while I say there's no, hang on, we need to ring Glowworm, this guy's gone quiet, or we need to speak to Land Rover, that guy's gone quiet, or we need to speak to Nazgob, or Falling Down Joe, or Howling Griffin, or 100 other people. Well, Eldritch Fox, actually, not Howling Griffin. 100 other people on the server. There is generally somebody who'll go, well, doesn't so-and-so, isn't he in the same league? Maybe it's worth speaking to him about him. And then you get to say, oh, yeah, he dropped his phone in the toilet, or his wife's banned him from playing Blood Bowl for a while because she just found out he's just dropped a load of money with Games Workshop. But yeah, as I say, that's the great joy. It's evolved to the point now where if we don't know somebody or we don't know something, we can generally find somebody who does or who can. and that's part and parcel of what being in squad coach. And let's be fair about this, guys. There are many other communities in Blood Bowl doing a very, very similar thing.
Everybody. I'm keen to make sure everybody gets. Are there any other questions you guys, Wilts, Millsy? Any other questions you guys want to add to Simon?
I think Wilton's got a good one.
Yeah, we're talking briefly about how we mentioned how quick everything is these days and how no one likes to wait around. My question was, how do we give ourselves permission to not just be instantly the best at everything the first time we try and do something?
Wow. That's a large question. I think what we need.
It's a very loaded question.
I think what we need to do is understand our own limitations. If you can understand that not everybody is good at everything. Some people aren't good at many things. Some people are very good at one thing. That's the start, and you've got to also accept. And specifically, if you're gonna tailor this question specifically to Blood Bowl, you have of course got the random aspect. So it doesn't really matter a lot of the time how good or bad you are. What does matter is how good or bad the dice that you roll are. I'm not a great subscriber to this. There are no dice. Prophecy that seems to be sweeping across some parts of Blood Bowl at the minute. And I understand it's postulated by people far more intelligent than me. But sooner or later, you're going to have to roll dice. And sooner or later, those dice are not going to give you what you want. And I think realizing that that's part of the experience, understanding and accepting it, is probably going a long way to making your experience overall much better. The only thing better than laughing at your opponent's dice is both of you laughing at your dice, in my opinion. And like I said, as long as you're not laughing at somebody in a malicious way, that's fine. And I don't know.
Laughing with them, not at them.
Yeah, it's a shared experience. And I don't know if the recording caught it or not, but my suggestion would be, if your opponent suddenly rolls 2 1s at a critical stage, they go for it for the score, the dodge out, whatever. Yeah, hand him a hip flask. but no, seriously.
Well, the very last thing you want to do is celebrate in their face.
I've been around, as we discussed earlier. I've been around a long time, and I listen to lots of podcasts, and I listen to lots of views, and the overarching view, which is correct, is that Blood Bowl's filled with wonderful, wonderful people. There are wonderful, wonderful people everywhere in Blood Bowl, and it's a really accepting, welcoming, helpful community. Yeah. Now there are 4, maybe 5 coaches that I can think of that I personally wouldn't want to play again. I'm obviously not going to name them, and I'm sure there are many more than 5 coaches out there that say, well, I don't want to play against you again, which is absolutely fine. But one of the reasons is that one of the overpowering reasons is they delighted in other people's misery. And I think that, whilst it sounds blunt, I think that's what you're actually doing. Yeah. And I don't think there should be any space in Blood Bowl for that. I don't think we should. Yes, if you're playing against a guy in a league, you've played against him for the last 10 years, you know he's going to howl with laughter when you fail that one to go for it, to score, to beat him. Yeah. And that's fine. But if he's a guy you've met an hour ago, 2 hours ago, maybe approach it a little bit differently. Oh, mate, I'm really sorry. You must have known that was going to happen. It is what it is, because sooner or later it's going to come back on you. So, yeah, I think we need to look at ourselves sometimes and how we deal with things, and then understand that other people may deal with them differently, and not rightly or wrongly, just differently. And try and sometimes play in their headspace a little bit. Look at it from their point of view. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Certainly. Yeah, I've got a great quote that I often cite at tournaments. When things aren't going my way, I always say, I'm a grown man pushing plastic men around. I can't take myself seriously.
Yeah, yeah. So many years ago, I took Undead to a tournament and I won the first 3 games. I mean, when I won the first 3 games, I dominated the first 3 games. I smashed it out of the park. Absolutely brilliant. I think my second, I think it was 2-0, 5-0, 3-0, something like that. Didn't concede a touchdown. None of the games even felt close. Went back to the accommodation that night, went back to the hotel that night thinking, yeah, this is great. I'm going to finally win a tournament. You know, I'm up for it. I'm great. I'm in the zone. And I'll be totally frank here, I got my arse handed to me in the next couple of games. Plummeted down the tables. Probably back to where I should have been anyway. In the car on the way home, I was savage. And there was an old guy in there. He didn't play anymore, but a mate of mine. And he said, what's your problem? And I said, I should have won, blah, blah, blah. And I'd got that sense of entitlement, you know? And he said, why should you have won? It's a dice game. And I said, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, you need to learn. Before you can learn how to win, you need to learn how to lose. And I said, well, how do I do that? And he went, we'll play goblins. And I went, oh, I can play goblins. Of course I can play goblins. I'll play them for a year. I think that was 15 years ago. That's something like 250 NAF-ranked games with goblins now. So I've learned how to lose over the years. And you know what? Sometimes losing can be really, really fun. Can be really, really fun. You go to the big tournaments and you see the guys on the top table sat there with a head in the hand, like they're trying to, I don't know, work out the equation to put a man on the moon or cure a currently incurable disease. And then you go down the bottom end and you see some guy throwing a goblin at an elf because he wants to kill it. And that's the reaction that we need.
Babs may have done that in his last tournament.
You'll be proud of me, Simon. I was playing goblins.
Son, I'm proud of you, whatever you do. There we go. There's a Glowfather. I'm proud of you all, whatever you do. As long as it's not dwarves. But no.
I'm waiting for you to say. I'm waiting for you to say, "You dirty old coach," because I know who you really are.
But no, I just think, like you say, when we need to find ourselves, sometimes we need to understand that some of us thrive in adversity, and some of us thrive on just and for me, a good game of Blood Bowl, a great game of Blood Bowl. And I've said this too, and there's probably 100 people out there listening to this and 100 more who'll just be nodding along, is I say to people at the end of the game, irrespective of what the result is, what I want to hear is, yeah, I really enjoyed that. I'd do that again. You know, that to me is a good game of Blood Bowl. When somebody stands up and says, mate, that were amazing. I've had so much fun. Thank you very much. For the last 2.5 hours, yeah, I haven't stopped laughing. It's been great. That's my idea of what Blood Bowl should be. Yes, of course, we should have a competitive element to it. Of course, there should be the guys with their heads in their hands staring at the board. And if that's your bag, if that's what gets you off, that's brilliant. Fine, fantastic. But never forget it's a game. Never forget it's a random game with dice. And like you say, how serious are you going to be when you're playing with toy soldiers? That's my question.
I've got some soul searching to do myself to get acceptable answers to myself on some of those questions, I think.
Play goblins.
Yeah, maybe that will come.
Play whatever makes you happy. I don't want the world and their mum to play goblins. I want the world and their mum to play what makes them happy. Yeah? More goblin players just means I plummet down the goblin rankings, to be fair. No. I've never understood this. Oh, well, what are you playing? Yeah. Great. You know what? Oh, you're a power game, you play undead. Well, if it's that much of a thing, why don't you do it? There's nothing to say that you can't do it. I've turned up at tournaments where the rule set's been skewed, shall we say, in a certain way. And, you know, there's 24, 25 guys at a tournament and there's 11 orc teams. Well, yeah, but everybody's taking orcs because it favours orcs. Well, you know what? You could have taken orcs. Or if you think that everybody's going to take orcs, take something to counter orcs. Take necro with claw, or corn, or one of several other teams that you can use to counter orcs. Or Halflings. Halflings rather surprisingly good counter against orcs, rather weirdly. Well, they are when Nazgul plays them anyway. But yeah. Remember, you're playing a game. I think you need to take yourself as seriously as you expect other people to take you, and I don't take myself seriously at all. So I never expect other people to take me seriously. And that has led to one or two interesting days. I'm playing against a Team England guy a few tournaments back, and he actually, halfway through the first half, he said, "You know what? You can really play, can't you?" And I said, "Yeah, when I'm sober, I can actually really play, yes. You would have thought so after all this time. Yeah, I can actually play." And I asked him, and somebody said to me, "Well, didn't you find that insulting?" And I said, "No, I took it as a compliment." Because he's seen me sat down at the bottom end of the table playing ridiculous teams, and just having fun, and just living the moment. What do you go to? I think one of the major questions is, what do you go to a Blood Bowl tournament to do? Not play Blood Bowl, but what do you go to a Blood Bowl tournament to do? For me, it's to socialise, it's to relax, it's to meet people, it's to have enjoyment, it's to be given challenges to work through. And it's the utter chaos. I work in a very structured environment, a very, very structured environment. So just having loads of variables put in front of me is totally different for me and challenging, and something I don't generally get on a day-to-day basis. It's enjoyable. If you consider winning as enjoyable, that's great. Go there and try and win. If you want to play all 20, 26, 27 races, then that's something you can find enjoyable. I met guys who have turned up at tournaments with lists of things, successfully throw a teammate and kill somebody, successfully throw a one-turn touchdown, kill a tree man. A list of challenges that they've set for themselves. Not particularly, I want to win this tournament, or I want to win a Stunty Cup, or I want most touchdowns, but different things. And that's the great joy of the game, is we've got a big arena we can play in with lots of different challenges for us. But yeah, decide what you want, I think, is the main thing. Decide what you feel is and well, always be honest with yourself. Would I love to go to Malta? Yes. Would I love to win the World Cup? Yes. Am I going to? Absolutely not. But I'm going to have fun doing what I do in Malta.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good spot to finish.
Yeah.
No, you're perfect, mate.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sorry I'm not as highbrow as some of your guests. But yeah, and like I said, and I don't know if you caught it, Babs, if you do go to the World Cup, my top two tips for the World Cup for anybody would be take more shirts than you're ever going to wear, because then you can trade them for some really cool ones. The Australians generally have cool shirts. The Americans always bring good shirts, to be fair. And if you're that way inclined, carry a hip flask, and then you can drown your sorrows instantly. And on behalf of Squad Chaos, we look forward to seeing you all there.
Any of them.
Yeah, round one, Down Underworld Denizens versus Squad Chaos.
Which one? Well,
whichever one you're on.
All right, so that'll be Nurgle then. And all the cool Chaos gods were taken by the time I sobered up enough to have a choice. So yeah, I'll be caught now. Corn's gone, mate. Okay.
Undivided.
No, there's no way you're getting Slanesh. Okay. Zine, no. Hash up, no, he's gone as well. The horned rat, no, he's gone as well. I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel here, mate. What's the dark at? No, mate, you're Nurgle. You're Nurgle shaped. You look like a beast of Nurgle. You're Nurgle. Oh, okay. I can live with that.
Yeah,
I can live with that.
Yeah, no, Simon, I've just got to say, like that interview and your thoughts of really making us look inside ourselves about what we want and what we should expect. I think there's going to be a lot of soul searching for a lot of our listeners, just to sort of look at that and go, you know what, I'm not at that tier, or I am here, and I want to get what I want out of Blood Bowl.
Yeah. Don't go with the like I said before. And I was lucky. I was brought up by parents who were very understanding, very accepting. Maybe not smartest in the academic sense, but a hell of a lot of common sense about them, and they instilled that in me. And one of the things they taught me was treat other people how you'd like to be treated yourself. So don't look down on anybody, don't judge anybody until you get to know them. Well, you can judge the hell out of people once you get to know them. But
that's half the fun. That's what you do it for.
And I do. Yeah. No, exactly. Usually by a court of their peers, yes. In my case, but yeah, just if you go to a tournament, set your own expectations. And I see it all the time. I see guys in some of the forums that I'm on saying, I'm going to my first tournament and I just don't want to lose all 6 games. That's brilliant. That's great. That is absolutely fantastic for your first tournament. Yeah. I'd like 2-2-2, the old Desmond Tutu. I'd like to get a 2-2-2. Might be something on your list.
Or the Richie Beno, 2 for 22.
6 or 8 tournaments down the line, you might be saying, I want to get a 2-2-2. I want to win more than 50% of my games, and then look at, but like I say, if it is, and I've seen people literally with a list, they've printed off a list of things they want to, it's almost like a bingo card of things they want to accomplish at a Blood Bowl tournament. Throw a player and kill an opposition player, throw a player and don't want to a touchdown, kill somebody by a foul, crowd surf 3 players in a game, score 2 touchdowns, in the game's high on my list. Yeah, but you know what I mean? There are lots of little challenges that you can set yourself and be realistic about it. And what you find is that if you carry on doing that over 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, however long, you can look back and go, God, do you remember that? My first tournament, I just didn't want to lose every game, and I got 1 win, 1 draw, and 4 losses, and I felt brilliant. And now I'm on 5 wins going into the final round. You know what I mean? Things evolve, things change, and I think you need to understand that, and I think you need to evolve and change with them sometimes. But yeah, set yourself realistic goals, treat people how you want to be treated. And remember, at the end of the game, there's always variables you have no control over. And that's why we do it. That's a lot of the reason why we do it. It's not chess. Thank God. I'd be even worse at that than I am at Blood Bowl. But yeah, and the World Cup is the World Cup. And there's nothing like it. You go to a big tournament, you go to a small tournament, you go to a big tournament, you notice the difference. You go to a Nationals, you go to you notice the difference. You go to a Euro Bowl or a Euro Open, you notice the difference. You go to the World Cup, and it is a party. It's not all about the best players being in the best place. It's about all the players being in the best place. Well,
we will in 2 years.
Yeah, and I will see you then. And by that time, because it'll probably be held, September, October time? I'll be 60.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I'll be 60 by then, so I will actually probably be the Glow grandfather by then. Never mind the Glowfather. But yeah, I'll hit 60 by then, so
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for being here.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on Down Underworld Dinners and Simon. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate your insights, and I hope our listeners have benefited from your wisdom as well.
Yeah, no worries at all, guys. And like I say, if anybody wants to join the server, and other servers are available, please do. Because no matter how little you might think of yourself, somebody out there thinks a lot more of you. And I think that's a good point.
Wow, she's just full of quotes. Love them.
I'm going to put it on a T-shirt, but I couldn't spell it. You guys stay safe. I've got a fence to build now, so yeah.
Do it. All right, mate. Catch ya.
No.
Stay
Cheers,
safe,
mate.
guys. Thank you for having me on.
And we have decided to make episode 11 extra long. not because we don't learn from our mistakes when we had a 3-hour episode, but because we have some fantastic news that we just don't want to sit on any longer. And so we're going to interview some gentlemen from across the ditch. So yeah, why don't you introduce them to us, Mildy?
Yeah, well, okay. Well, we've got Gil Johnson and James Cardno, and both these guys between them are organising the Ausbowl State Championships and the Greenstone Cup Open that's running alongside those Ausbowl State Championships. So let's cross to those guys now.
Here at Down Under World Denizens, we'd like to extend a big thank you and a warm welcome to James Cardno, aka Mahuika, and Gil Johnston, aka Lord Vortigern, from New Zealand, on today to talk about several things. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, thanks, lads. Great to be here.
Now, I'm under the impression that you guys are part of the team that is putting on Ausbowl State Championships number 6.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Would you like to tell us a little bit more about how you came to be the ones in charge and running things, and some of the challenges you faced in getting everything up and running?
Okay, I can probably talk a little to the background of it in terms of we've had New Zealand contingents going over to the Ausbowl State Champs and Teen Champ, always kind of throwing a lot in and having a crack at it. And over those visits, we've had various conversations with some of the key blood bowlers over in Oz, particularly Rabid, Hutchie, and a few others. And the offer was put out to see if we'd be willing to host a state champs, and invite you guys over to our side of the ditch for a change. So we carried that conversation on, and it was all going pretty swimmingly and lining up for a 2020 state champs hosted in Auckland. We were getting everything, all our ducks in a row, everything all set up, when unfortunately global events took a turn and slightly prevented traveling blood bowlers from being able to come to that kind of tournament. So it all got put on hiatus for a little while, and then obviously the state champs were hosted after that in Australia, and we were given the opportunity to host the next ones along, the number 6, which I think by that point New Zealand Blood Bowl had really kind of picked up a gear, and we were ready to welcome you guys in. So we pulled a team together, based out of Auckland, where we're going to be hosting, where James is based, and we've got some really enthusiastic people on board, and kind of ran with it from there.
And we're in an unprecedented era of more Blood Bowl players than ever before. So there's been a lot of competitions for the various state teams. In fact, all the state teams at the time of recording have been announced except Queensland, where the one's dragging the chain. So yeah, is there any plans to seed the teams, and that will determine in the order they play?
There is a seeding process. James can probably talk to that better than I can. I think you're involved in coming up with the idea, James.
Yeah, roughly. I just want to add in something to Gil's intro there. Really, based in Auckland, the first I heard about this team's championship or team's tournament was from a good friend of Blood Bowl New Zealand in Auckland, and Murray Lee, who was I think involved originally in organising what was going to be a hosting with Auckland, and unfortunately COVID happened, and I know he was pretty excited about it and pretty gutted that it couldn't come through. So really, I'm a bit of a custodian of I guess Murray's venture with the rest of I'm sure Gil and all the crew. So really, I've just taken up the mantle, and hopefully we can finally get it underway, and I think it should be awesome. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But regards the seeding, I think better minds than me will probably have a good idea as to exactly how we're going to seed it and how we're going to rank the teams. But I'm not 100% sure just yet this far out, but I'm sure there'll be some kind of ranking that'll at least play in some way.
Yeah, I believe it's primarily going to be based on the on the ELO for the squads as a whole. So based on the ELO at a certain cutoff point, which I'm not sure what that cutoff point is. The squad ELO will then govern what the seeding is. So I believe that process is going to happen once the final teams are announced.
Good. So I should get on with sabotaging my ELO ranking and playing more stunties. That seems like a good plan.
That's the key, right? That's the strategic move.
It's our secret. But yeah, let's talk about the venue for a moment. It's the Mission Bay Tap Room. Is that correct? Is that the right name for the venue?
Yeah, you got it. We were being a coastal city. We thought, hey, would it be better than I guess Blood Bowl at the beach, with to really show off what we have in Auckland. So we thought, well, Blood Bowl at the beach at a pub. Those kind of things seem to line up pretty well. So we've managed to secure the Mission Bay Tap Room. Mission Bay is a relatively affluent suburb of Auckland. Plenty of yachts, great view of the Sky Tower and the Rangitoto Island, and really nice kind of family venue where you can bring your kids, take them to the beach on the weekend. There's a few football fields around, and really just quite a cool place to hang out. And also, I think it'd be a great place to host a whole bunch of travellers as well, and show off what Auckland can offer.
And you held Greenstone Cup there last year, is that right?
No, we haven't held one there. It's kind of a bit of a premium venue, I would say. So no, we haven't held an event at that venue yet, but we're pretty excited about taking Blood Bowl to Mission Bay. Should be pretty cool.
Excellent. Tell us a little bit about capacity. Like, obviously, the Ausbowl State teams, they're basically finalised. As I said, we're the last ones to get our stuff organised. But other than the teams, which obviously are 8 teams of 6 and reserves, there is the opportunity for other people just to come over and play in the Greenstone Cup, which at other events has just been called the Ausbowl State Champs Open. Which mirrors kind of what happens at the Euro Bowl and the Euro Open. This time it's the Greenstone Cup, which I think is a brilliant move, by the way. Tell us a little bit about is capacity limited because of the size of the venue? I heard somewhere that it was capped at about 30 coaches.
Yeah, so we think by all accounts we'll have 48 coaches in the team championships, and really James Hills and I spent a bit of time measuring up, moving tables around, lining everything up, and we settled on 30 for the Greenstone Cup. There's probably capacity for 40 if we needed to push it, and so we're kind of sitting between 30 and 40 comfortably. It'll be a hard cap at 40, but we think 30 will probably be a nice, roomy, spacious number of people to have, but we've got a little bit of room to play there if we need to.
Yeah, perfect. And look, I know Millsy here has had a very cunning plan all along, that he deliberately didn't make the team of Queensland so that he could come along and have the pickings of the Greenstone Cup instead. So Millsy's already planning to attend. But Millsy's not planning to come alone. I know that there's a bunch of Aussies who are thinking about coming. Why don't you give us a bit of a pitch? Why should someone who didn't make one of the state teams come across to the Greenstone Cup?
Yeah, well, Greenstone Cup's I guess what I'd call it's kind of the signature event for New Zealand. Now, being a smaller state or a smaller brother of Australia, things aren't quite as big, but it's our baby and our what I would consider our version of a major. And it's also in its 21st, I believe, consecutive outside of COVID year of running, which makes it the longest running, I believe, tournament in Australasia. And it'll be the 20th NAF ranked year, so it's the 20th anniversary as well. And I know Uke Bowl's got, I believe, a 20th anniversary coming up this year. So really, it's an opportunity to come over, and if you're gonna fly over all the way from Australia and take on the Kiwis, really, what better time to come over when you have all your mates with you who might be playing in a team champs, and you could come over and steal the glory and take back the cup of New Zealand with you. And what better time than a time when Australia and New Zealand are also battling it out at the Fortress of Eden Park. I think New Zealand, the All Blacks, are undefeated since 1992 there. The Bledisloe. What better time to actually take home a win for Australia?
Battling it out for the PAV while we're there as well.
Well, the PAV sits quite nicely and quite beautifully at my house at the moment. I kind of got it. I've got a pride of place. I don't think my wife's too happy, but I've got a pride of place, so I can look at it every day for the hopefully long time that we hold it. But it's certainly a beautiful thing. I'd like to keep it at my house for another few years. But certainly there's a great opportunity to come and steal back something that we've quite rightly and quite proudly won in a pretty hard fought battle over last year.
I think this will be the biggest PAV raid by a wide margin coming up this year. So it'll be interesting to see with that many coaches getting involved, whether it changes hands. Just to add to what James said, I've been travelling up to Greenstone for a while, and it is a great tournament. I would say that we do enjoy having Aussies over. I've travelled across to Aussie tournaments in the past, and always get a great welcome, and we like having Aussies doing the same the other way. We've had a few travelling coaches over the years, and always get a good welcome when they come to New Zealand and get shown a good time at the tournament. So the more the merrier from New Zealand's perspective.
If I could just add one other thing, I think at the moment in the Greenstone Cup, if I'm reading my entries right, I believe there are more Aussies signed up to the Greenstone Cup right at this moment than Kiwis. So it's pretty exciting. I know there's a few plus ones from teams, but there's also a small contingent already coming over to New Zealand and Auckland to play just for the Greenstone Cup, not associated with other teams. So
Regos are open?
Absolutely. Yep. Regos are open. We'll be pretty flexible. I think those extra potential 10 spaces I kind of talked about will probably be just left open in case there's some Aussies wanting to come over. It certainly won't be closed off till closer to the event. So yeah, it's just an opportunity. Hopefully as many people as can make it and want to make it as possible before a World Cup year, where some might be heading over even further afield. We'd love to host you, as Gil said. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and of course one of the joys of being at the Greenstone Cup this year would be, of course, if you finish your game a little early, or if it's in between rounds, you can wander around and see what's going on in the titanic battle that's going on in the Ausbowl State Championships. And I know that's a big draw card for some, to be able to see the titans, the behemoths of what New Zealand has to offer and what the various states and territories of Australia have to offer as they duke it out. I think there's going to be some great matchups. I think it's going to be an absolute cracker and one to go down in the record books for sure. I'm really keen to see this dual event of Greenstone Cup and Ausbowl State Championships blow all records of New Zealand Blood Bowl tournaments out of the water and have the most people at it ever. I'm not sure what the current record is, but I think we're well able to surpass it.
Oh, absolutely.
I believe the record's 40, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. And the other thing we've tried with the time is we're running a 5-round Greenstone Cup, as is tradition for us, rather than you guys might be a little bit more familiar with 6 rounds. But that gives a really nice kind of run in to kind of watch, I guess, live the final round of the state champs too.
6 rounds is a lot more common in the bigger tournaments in Sydney and Melbourne. A lot of our tournaments here in Queensland, we keep to 5 rounds because a lot of people have to travel, ourselves included. We're generally traveling up to 600-700 kilometers after finishing a tournament down in the southeast corner. Yeah, I think a lot of that comes down to regional culture and variations as much as anything else.
Yeah, I wanted to just comment briefly on your rules pack. I haven't had a careful look at Greenstone, but I did have a good look at Ausbowl State Champs, and I'm really impressed that a lot of tournaments go all out in terms of spending a lot of cash on prizes and swag. You've gone a different route. You've not only have you got some pretty bespoke, amazing stuff, which we may touch on, but I love the way that as part of the rego, you get like a tab at the venue, which I think is really cool and unique idea. Does that apply to Greenstone as well as the state championships teams?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something. Look, we're quite lucky. We've got a local business on board, which is shelling up a little bit of cash as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I guess for me, especially when hosting a lot of players from South Island's a long way to travel to New Zealand and so is Australia. So having something where if you're a non-drinker, you can get a Coke or a soda or something and some food as well. And if you're a traditional Blood Bowl drinker, you can have a few bevies and enjoy the festivities. It's really for me a big social event and catching up with mates of like mind. So I wanted to kind of add that in as well. But yeah, never fear. I think there'll be some pretty cool swag coming in as well. So yeah, but just a little touch I think we wanted to make to kind of make sure that the focus was on some pretty tough and fierce Blood Bowl competition, which would be awesome, but also outside of the games once the dice are down, relaxing and having a bit of fun with some mates. We think that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, certainly. So the rules that you've put out, who was in charge of doing that? Was that like entirely you guys, or was that a collaboration with other ASC members?
Yeah, so rules in Auckland, we kind of do a lot of things with I guess a little committee that runs a lot of the tournaments. And this rules pack primarily was done by NAF handle Grimier or EJ, who's also made it onto the North Island. And he's primarily done a lot of research, obviously a bit of consulting with James Hills as an FREF and I think and a few of the Aussies as well. But he's primarily in charge of coming up with this pack, and it's ASC and GSC agnostic, or it's basically we wanted to tee it up so whether you're on the reserves or on the main team, you'd be playing under the same rules pack, so you could really get some reps in with your team as a reserve and bring it to either event. We thought that was pretty important.
And Millsy and I might have already had a rep with our potential teams. Isn't that right, Millsy?
We certainly have. Leaves a little bit to desire, and we might have a few more reps before we go. But definitely.
What are you saying?
Yeah. No. So one of the interesting things in the rules pack is the amount of banned stars. And was that once again entirely up to you guys? And then how did you work out which ones were not going to make the cut?
Did you want to take this one, Gil, or did you want me to keep rambling?
You keep going. I had no hand in choosing those band stars. I'm far more of a in favor of freedom of taking as much as you want. But once you get players of this caliber all coming together in what is a pretty competitive tournament, to actually steer it and actually get some more variety, some more balanced teams rather than having a series of star player caddies facing off against each other. Sometimes with the meta as it currently is, you need to make some calls, and that does mean in this case either you penalize star players or you outright ban them, which is the route the pack's gone down.
Can also be a good saving face. I may or may not have taken Griff Overwall to Ausbowl State Champs last time on a Old World Alliance team and had my rear end handed to me the entire tournament. So maybe it's maybe it's not just maybe it's actually a good move. Yeah, well, let's just say Old World Alliance is the lowest of my rankings now by quite some margin. I got beaten by a bunch of very, very, very good coaches, and it was a really big mistake to try and load up with Griff, thinking that was the way to break the meta, and the opposite occurred.
Yeah, I mean, again, greater minds than mine in terms of working through the technicalities of what's strong and what's not. I quite famously hardly ever write my own lists. I find someone else to write them for me because that's certainly not my strong point. Mind you, neither is winning Blood Bowl that much. But yeah, certainly EJ has a strong view on a lot of what's going on in Europe, and will have gone through and looked at certain various tournaments and kind of picked up what he liked out of there, and is in favour of kind of being less permissive with stars and more about, I guess, your traditional Blood Bowl teams and Blood Bowl positionals. So I think it probably levels things out, as Gil said, quite well, and avoids a few of the kind of gotcha combos that maybe would have sat there otherwise.
Just on the tierings for a moment, you've got 6 different tiers. Is that something that you've seen at other places in New Zealand, or is this again something that's been picked up from elsewhere in the country? Oh, sorry, in the world.
Yeah, generally we'd have probably 3 or 4, Gil, I would say. So it's a little bit of a move away, and probably again that I guess the 2020 Blood Bowl's been around for a while, so we're able to dive in a bit closer and maybe move some of those mid-tier or those 0.5 tiered teams. It's nice to have them sitting in their own bracket, I suppose, and gives hopefully a bit more variety, rather than just picking the top 1 or 2 out of each of a broader tier. So yeah, no, a little bit of a change from what we do traditionally, probably in New Zealand, but I quite like how it's lined up, and hopefully we'll see a little bit of variety.
Yeah. So who do I have to bribe to drop Slan down a couple more tiers so I can get some more skills?
Certainly, I'm more than open to bribes. Yeah, beer's perfectly fine. What I can't guarantee though is once the bribe's paid, whether you'll actually see any changes.
Nice.
Millsy will roll a 1 if anyone does on his bribe, for sure.
Yeah, look, I'm really keen to see a bunch of Aussies come over to Ausbowl State Champs as part of the Greenstone Cup contingent and be involved in what's going on. I really love that New Zealand are hosting, and it's a real celebration of Blood Bowl in Australasia. I think it's a fantastic opportunity. I really want to recommend it to our listeners that anybody who can come should. Where there's not money obstacles or scheduling conflicts, absolutely come over. Is there anything else, Gil and James, you really want to highlight for our listeners for reasons they should come over?
I think we hosted the teams champs a few years ago down in Christchurch, and we did find that one of the big things for traveling Aussie coaches was making a big trip of it. Quite a few bringing a family over and making it the big trip over to New Zealand and making a holiday of the thing. So there are other tournaments around if you want to string some together. There are opportunities to turn this into a good solid New Zealand holiday. The weather will be possibly on the colder side for you guys, but it'll still be a brilliant place to visit. Auckland as a holiday destination, and the surrounds is well worth your while.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'd probably echo that with Gil. Auckland's generally the destination a lot of people fly into, and then potentially Christchurch is the destination a lot of people fly out of. If you're doing a full New Zealand, it might take a month or 2, but if you're doing a full New Zealand tour, that's what a lot of travellers would do. But I guess that's, I can only speak from my experience. I've managed to get Malta across the line with my significant other, and the way I've done it is to tee up a family holiday, and I think that's a great way of being able to do what we enjoy and what we love, and hang out with a bunch of mates doing some crazy stuff, but also tie in a great kind of family holiday as well. We've tried to time it, although it was a little bit challenging around all of the school holidays. There's about 4 different school holiday, I guess, timings amongst all the states and then New Zealand as well. So it was a little bit challenging, but we've tried to do that. And there's plenty to see. North of Auckland, where I'm from, there's Cape Reinga, which is essentially where 2 oceans crash together right at the top of New Zealand. That's probably about 5 or 6 hours drive up. I was up there on family holiday, and did all the way up the top and all the way down the other side of the west coast of New Zealand. It's beautiful up there, really great sights to see. Opanaini, there's some huge sand dunes, there's beaches everywhere, there's some great I guess, Māori cultural stuff up there in terms of how New Zealand was formed. Great place to visit. Auckland as a base is just fantastic. We've got heaps to do, heaps to see. You can obviously travel down from Auckland. There's Hobbiton, if Lord of the Rings and that is your thing. Danger Mouse,
one on my list.
Yeah, it's pretty epic. Danger Mouse and I think it was earlier last year, did a half marathon there down at Hobbiton through the Shire and through everything. So it was pretty epic, and kids loved it as well. But there's just plenty to do around and plenty to see. And I just encourage everyone to come over and see other parts of New Zealand other than Auckland. Auckland's a great base to start from. But there's so much to see all the way through. So for as long as you can, or as short as you can, there's plenty to do.
No worries. Now, there's one thing we haven't actually touched on yet, boys, is you guys might actually be a part of another podcast from that little island over there as well. If anyone's listening to Down Underworld Denizens, why should they tune into Powtearoa?
I was just chatting to the Powtearoa boys on 3 nights ago on around the Powtearoa State Champs, which are coming up. Lovely lads, all fantastic guys within the community, and I think if people are enjoying your podcast, which I've been listening to myself recently, I think they'll get a lot out of the Powtearoa boys. It covers a lot of New Zealand stuff, but it also some general chatter around tournaments, around general Blood Bowl banter. So it's quite a good laugh as a podcast.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It's one of the things that like Babs sort of reached out to me last year when he started traveling to go to work and listening to podcasts, and he listened to this one called Powtearoa and just went, "Hey, these guys don't sound too bad." And I'd been listening to them already, and that was one of the little impetuses for us to get ours going. So well done, you guys.
It's pretty epic. The crew that's doing it, and I believe that we'll hopefully have most of them, if not all of them, up at the Greenstone Cup, which fingers crossed, which will be pretty epic too. You guys could, if you guys are coming over as well, there could be a bit of a collab going on at Greenstone.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I've twisted Tricky's arm to make the trek. Hey guys, we've got a few minutes left. I'm really keen to give a plug to another event that you guys have got a hand in. Why don't you fill us in? Tell us about this other event.
Well, yeah, the other one's the Powtearoa Squad Spectacular, which is essentially a smaller teams event, which we're running for squads of 3 Blood Bowl coaches. We recently had the Powtearoa Provincial Championships started up. We've had our second one now, started by Ramchop, and that was an opportunity for the various New Zealand Blood Bowling states to send in teams to compete for a New Zealand national teams tournament. So we've had a couple of years of those, and which have been really good for the community, really kind of brought out a lot more. But what we wanted to do was, as the state champs are on, and we've got this big competition going on this year, we're not running a Powtearoa Provincial Championships this year. So we've decided to alternate it with a Powtearoa Squad Spectacular, which is essentially what the ATC is to the ASC. So it's a smaller, slightly more light-hearted, slightly more lower pressure event. We're going to be running it down in Christchurch, and it's going to be at the end of August. So right in ski season for those who are keen to travel to the South Island of New Zealand for some skiing. And it's a relatively similar rule set to what the state champs are going to be, with a few extra little bits. We've got a very inaccurate wizard that everyone gets for each game, skinned up as a gnome throwing a firework to skitter around madly. It's not going to be very effective. It should add some hilarity to games. Well, quite likely to take out your own players. Rule set is geared up, kind of pushes people towards the lower tier teams, at least including some lower tier teams into their squads. So as a squad balance, there's a requirement to have a minimum total tier of your squad. So you can't just go with 3 tier 1 teams. You've got to actually bring something that's a bit more interesting, a bit more varied. So I hope we end up with quite a nice mix. So again, we're keen for Aussies to come over to that one as well. I had a few chats with a couple previously who indicated they were pretty keen to come along to that as well. And if the state champs and Greenstone timing doesn't work out for people, this is another opportunity to come across New Zealand, make a trip with a couple of your mates, and get involved in some New Zealand Blood Bowl.
Oh, brilliant. So where do we find out about that?
It's only just been NAF approved, so the information should be going up shortly within the next few days. I'll make sure you guys get a link so you can add in to the blurb along with your podcast. But yeah, we'll be circulating the information on that fairly shortly. And yeah, welcome to all traveling coaches to get involved.
Is there a way for somebody to sign up as an individual and join a hybrid team, or do you have to come as a team of 3?
There will be, especially for traveling coaches. I think that we'll definitely gear it up. If someone wants to come along and hasn't got a team, if there's 1 or 2 people, we'll look at sourcing some local blood bowlers who can join your team and form a full squad.
One thing we didn't ask, because the Greenstone Cup is open for registration. Where do we go to get that? How do we get onto that?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I believe it's all up on the NAF website itself under tournaments. So my understanding is there's a link there where everybody seems to be having a look through, and all the squads seem to be looking through, and that's where I guess the registrations have come from initially. But I'll probably be promoting and posting it in Ausbowl and in the New Zealand Facebooks pretty soon. But yeah, that's where I believe it is at the moment.
I think the Powtearoa Squad Spectacular is on there as well. So you can find the rules pack and sign up on there. But ditto, Jesse will be putting that forward. All the relevant Facebook channels.
Yeah, just as someone before we stop, just as someone who's been to a tournament, teams tournament in Christchurch, I can say these guys put on a hell of an event. Really cool. We had a great time at the event, but probably an even better time after the event, and very well hosted by the team down there. Awesome venue, and yeah, it was probably the most fun tournament I've been to. So yeah, like Gil kind of said, if you can't make it across to an Auckland tournament, there's absolutely a great reason to head to probably the other capital city or main city of the South Island, and there's some beautiful parts of the South Island to have a look at if you can on a holiday as well. Yeah,
I can confirm. In fact, if it was up to my wife, I think we'd have Ausbowl State Champs in Dunedin. She loves the South Island. She's basically insisted that we go there for some of the time while we're over in New Zealand. So that's definitely happening. But also, I can also recommend what you were saying earlier about Bay of Islands. Thought it was lovely, really nice part of the world.
Why wasn't all that promotion in the World Cup bid? Well, maybe we'll be going there instead of Malta.
I think Tricky did a cracking job with his World Cup bid. Completely robbed by the system, but on that.
Knowing what I know about Tricky, and I'm actually heading down to his Sleeping Giants tournament in Dunedin, and I went to university in Dunedin, so I'm looking forward to that. But knowing what I know about Tricky, and if you wanted a small boutique kind of tournament where people could come from all parts of the world and have a pretty unique and one hell of a time, I can't think of a better place and a better host to come to. Certainly, I would say in terms of the scale and what you're probably looking for from a World Cup in terms of sheer numbers, there's no way that we could have competed with I guess the big boys. But I tell you what, it would have been one hell of it. We would have taken over Oamaru and probably further and further beyond that, and there'd probably be tales sung. It'd probably end up in the Spike magazine. It would have been so big. So yeah, it's a shame. But hey, great opportunity to get to Malta, and I'm certainly looking forward to that. The only international tournament I've played so far is the Big V, and that was so awesome that it's spurred me on to go further afield next year. So yeah, it's awesome.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on Down Underworld Venison. So I say thank you so much for letting us know exactly why we should make the trek over the ditch, as we say. To cross the Tasman over to our cousins. Why don't you? Is there anything else you wanted to add? Anything else you wanted to say before we sign out?
Well, what I'd like just to add is that you guys, along with the guys over at Powtearoa, are doing a cracking job for Australia and New Zealand Blood Bowl, and kind of bring the scene together. Really kind of spreading the word around Blood Bowl as it grows. So thanks for all your efforts, boys.
Yeah, ditto. It's awesome. It's great to have a listen when driving to work or afterwards or in between tournaments, and hear you guys and the Powtearoa guys talk about the game that we love and game that we enjoy, and it's more Blood Bowl is more fun, so it's pretty awesome. So well done to you guys. Echo those statements.
Yeah, I've just got one final question. The PAV that you have over there at the moment, do you have packing materials, or do I need to bring my own when I bring it back?
Well, we had a seat at the front of the plane for the Powtearoa Provincial Championships, which also resides in Auckland. Up here, so we are kind of the Blood Bowl capital at the moment. We're also holding the PAV, so much so I'll have to get a bigger trophy cabinet. But if there's any more trophies that the Kiwis can come over and win, that'd be great. But yeah, I think really the PAV deserves a first class seat. If you guys manage to book one, if you're that confident, who knows, you might be able to sit next to the Wallabies and take the Bledisloe home as well.
Oh, look, I have unlimited confidence, just not the ability to go with it.
Can I just say though, it would be awesome also if there's the PAV, and then there's obviously the pride of winning all of those individual tournaments. But I just want a special shout out to what could be better than having a beer afterwards as the champions with your very own custom, beautifully crafted wooden, New Zealand native wood, I think, Blood Bowl beer steins. I wouldn't quite say you'd be drinking the blood of your enemies out of them, but certainly, hopefully, showering yourself in beer or something that Sand Dunes very generously provided for the winning team. So there'll be 6 of them for the winning team, and they are just epic. So a great little keepsake that you can take away, as well as the pride of winning the team champs. So shout out to him, and it's a pretty wicked addition to what we've got going on.
They are magnificent. That is true. I have seen the photos.
One last thing, gentlemen, Gil and James. We've got a bit of a running joke on our podcast, but if I could just get each of you, please, to say, "That's brilliant," in your most enthusiastic tones, please.
That's brilliant.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That is brilliant.
Excellent.
I love it.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Record top tip here. Order
Yeah?
far more shirts than you need. Yep.
So you can stop them.
I took 9 to Alicante with me
Oh.
and brought none back. At one point, I walked
Wow.
up to Andy Davo, and I went,
Oh,
"All
yeah?
right, Andy," and he went,
Yep.
"Oh, it is you." And I went, "What?" He went, "Mate, I've just seen 3 different people walk past with Glowworm on the back of their shirt." He said, "It is actually you." He said, "I thought I was a bit worried when the third one walked past."
I don't know what's going on.
It's in a hip
Flask.
flask.
Oh yeah, hip flasks are always great. The first time you
Well,
rolls a double one, just don't say anything. Just hand him a hip flask.
well, I figure a hip flask and a water bottle. You have those two things you covered for anything, right?
Well, yeah, you could have a water bottle. I suppose it is a sensible approach.
Well,
Well,
Yeah.
dehydration
Well-
is a serious thing, and no one should suffer from that if it's
Agreed.
avoidable.
Agreed.
yeah, but alcohol's made from water, Wilts. Surely that works. And it's made from boiled distilled water, so it's actually cleaner water than you're drinking out of your water bottle.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Oh, whereabouts are
Just
we?
remember that
Oh.
alcohol is a solution in the chemical sense of
This
the
is
word. It's a particulate
Yeah, so-
suspended in liquid.
we get scientific now, are we?
Only about the important stuff.
Hey, speaking of your fractal frenzy, did you see my little NRL version I put on?
I haven't had a chance to have a look.
Up
Sorry,
today?
mate. It's been a fairly busy day.
I was listening to, I think it might have been Players to Nuffle, and they were interviewing, someone, and he talked about, they had this weird tournament where you couldn't pass forward. He said, "Oh, it's like rugby," and then I was just like, I could do that, and then I've put in a couple of rules and like rugby league, like you can have unlimited handoffs, but you cannot pass the ball forward, including throw a teammate with the ball, and any foul or penalty results in a sin bin, and you are sent to the reserves box until the next drive, because in our NRL, the sin bins always come back on. So, yeah, just a wacky little idea I had and threw it together, and it's like, if we made that into sevens, it could fit in your fractal frenzy if you wanted.
So, what size pitch would you put it on?
Well, if we were going to do it in the fractal frenzy, at the moment it's a full size pitch, but you only have 6 turns, because that you have a 6 tackle set in NRL, because it's Nuffles regional leagues, or the NRL. But if we put it into fractal, I'd probably put it on Oz 7th pitch.
I did have a slight change of heart as far as my my zombie team. I'm not going to be leaving it to the star players. I'm just going to roster 6 rerolls.
Nice.
Love it. Well, you've
9
probably
zombies,
seen,
2 skeletons, and 6 rerolls. That's good. That's a good time, isn't it?
you've probably seen my gnome team doesn't none of this leveraging inducement nonsense. Just play the game. Like, I'm just going with 1 mil. Off we go.
Just play the game.
Yeah, because it could be a down underrated skill. It could be a down underrated position. It could be a down underrated star player.
Yep.
I
Just
mean,
because
some
you don't
star
like it,
players
don't think it's
deserve-
not down underrated.
some star players are not underrated, but just flat out useless, like Gretchen Wachter. The
They've really got it. They've really got to work on that, don't they?
Yeah.
like, yes, it's cool if you can have a third Wraith on your team, but she doesn't really offer much for the money. So take the broken stunty one, put it on a special plinth, and give that to the second place stunty cup.
It could do. Could do. If there was
Yeah,
enough
that's
competition. Mind you,
yeah.
you need to play in 3 Queensland tournaments as stunty. Like it's not an easy thing. That's why a lot of the tournament series don't have them anymore.
Don't have it.
Because you
Yeah.
need at least 3 separate. It's only the 3 ones that count for stunty cup separately from the overall championship, or
Well, yeah,
Well, no, you could,
that's right. You
but
need 3 results in the tournament series to be
as a
eligible.
stunty.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
But
so in that
if
case,
you,
your
you could
stunty
play in all.
matches are almost a separate leaderboard from your actual tournament
Yes, so
series,
you
then,
could.
right?
That's right. You could. Yeah, that's right. You could play 3 stunty, 3 non-stunty if there were 6 in the series, and have them count towards both if you really wanted.
yeah,
Okay, so
but
then in that case, do I need to highlight the players that played stunties in the 11s to keep track of stunties separately? Or
yeah, I
I'd
think
probably
just
track.
highlight
I'd
that
probably
cell.
track, or you track all stunty results separately. It's up to you. You can do it either way.
I think you just
I'll just highlight them so that it's on the same table and we can track it, but without necessarily having to have a separate table.
yeah.
Yeah,
But the other thing is you can.
Like Millsy's podium win. I just want to say I'm currently the highest ranked stunty coach in the tournament series.
Yes,
I'm the
you
highest ranked
are.
slan coach. I am #1 for slan in beach bowl in Australia.
You're not the #1 slan coach in the tournament series, Millsy.
No,
No.
for beach bowl.
Oh, for
What
beach
about
bowl, you are. I was going to say
for the
Anthony
7
Whitlock got
series? You would
10th.
be
I'm not even in the series for slam.
Oh,
for
no, you're
sevens. You
not.
are.
Oh, sevens I
Yeah,
am.
for
Yeah.
sevens you
For
are. But
sevens,
yeah,
you are.
But
Anthony Whitlock got 10th and Damien Bowden got 13th with slan.
and
Yeah.
Oh, there
I gotta
was
apologise.
Risky
Risky
Steve
Steve.
got yeah.
I did
But
kind of tilt against Anthony Whitlock a little bit in my final round at Brisbane City Bash. I think I was just too tired. I did end up tilting a bit.
Yeah, that can
a
happen.
bad man, Babs.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it threw him a bit to expect. I don't think he expected me to tilt. Anyway, I don't think I realised quite the effect I was having on Anthony, so I feel bad for him.
I tilted Libra in our game.
Anyway, I did
Yeah.
apologise to Anthony profusely later. He gave me a lift over to our hotel, as you know, and I apologised profusely to him both in person and online, and he said he's accepted my apology, so I'm happy to move on, but still,
He seems like a pretty laid back kind of guy.
yeah, I think he is, but I do think he kind of didn't play his top game when he saw me tilting, and I think that's the issue.
Yeah, and that's why you're not as fussed that you didn't try to get that extra go ahead touchdown at the end.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Which could have made a big difference to my rankings and could have meant I don't need
Well,
to
it
play
would have got
bowlers
you above
again.
150 with your gobos.
It could have well have done, but I think in the circumstances, I'm just happy with the draw.
Fair enough.
So you're leading the Stunty Cup
Yeah, by 1 point.
by 1 point.
Hey, I'll take it.
Point to point. You only need 1 point to win.
Well, the thing is that you need to play Stunty at 3 events. That's the other thing in my favour, right? You got to actually play Stunty in 3 tournaments.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing, Wilt. So,
Mm.
say Babs plays Stunty at 3 tournaments and he finishes first, second, or third in the overall series. What we do is we have to go to Babs and say, do you want second place or do you want
Or do you want
Stunty?
Stunty Cup? You can't have both.
You can't have both.
Yeah.
So, and
And
if
then
Babs
trickle
says, no,
down.
I'm going to take second, then we go to the next Stunty. Yeah.
If anyone else qualifies for
If anyone else qualifies,
tournaments.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is a sounding year, and once people see what it can be done, like next year, we're not limiting, but we're sort of being a bit more prudent with what tournaments we put into the series.
I also think the tournament series will probably expand next year. Like, if there are more teams in the series that we want to include, like if the North Brisbane guys decide they want to be in, and like make them a part of
And
the
do we go
series
to
as
more
well.
than just 3 results? Do we go to 4 or 5 results?
No. 3's enough. 3's plenty. You don't
Well,
want to make it too big an obstacle.
Three's what you want because then having more events to qualify makes it a more competitive ladder.
Yeah.
Because if you've got 6 events, but people can only get to 4 of them on average, it might be a different 4 for every different person. If you can only get to 4 out of 6 and your best 3 count, then you've really only got one
One you're dropping, yeah.
one chance to miss a good result. Whereas if
And
you've got 8 or 9 events in the series and you get to half of them, you're laughing.
yeah.
And I also think,
Yeah.
I really want to be in a situation where, in Queensland anyway, there's not too much travel required to get the 3 you need. So, thinking of the
Yeah.
North Queensland lads, like you don't want them to have to, journey down multiple times to Brisbane. I mean, I know people like Gerard do, and they love it, which is great. But
And we love that he can.
yeah, but the point is that you
Speaking
don't
of
want to have compulsion there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it should be a
No.
situation where they can still get their results in, still potentially win, without committing hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, well, between Cairns and Townsville having events now, they just need to get to one other event to get a qualifying score now out of 3.
Yeah. And in fact,
Yeah.
in the 7th series, they only need to get as far as Rocky, right? And they got enough.
And they've got enough, yeah. Speaking of which, I was talking to Tats. He's super keen to come down to the Bundy Rumble. Like he said, is that 2 days? And I sort of told him, I said, yeah, late start, early finish the next day, blah blah. And he said, I'm super keen. So
Actually,
yeah.
I need to hit him up. I want to get him as an official, get him set up as a proper table and everything at Tournament of Champs next year.
I was
Yeah.
in stock and product displays.
Yeah. Get him in as a proper
Is
vendor.
Millennium's going to allow that?
Well, there's no crossover of product. I don't think that'll be a problem.
Yeah, like I've missed that at a few places. Like they used to have like a table where you could come and just put stuff up there and put prices on it and, like sell your old stuff off and stuff like that. And you can't do that. Well, you can't do that everywhere, but yeah, having that like a trade table that anyone can come along and put stuff up on there and kind of like you did it at the Biff, you had stuff up there for sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Moab and CanCon used to do back in the day with the bring and buy, yeah, so it is bring and
Yeah,
buy.
bring and buy or something like that. Yeah.
Secondhand stall.
Yeah. I think we should be doing that for our for the Gerbil League. Like one of these venues that we go to, just everyone bring in your spares or your whatever, and even if you've just got them in the box for people to rummage through, because I'm sure there's stuff here that I'll never use that people look at and go, oh, geez, I want one of those. How much? It's like, oh, swap me for that halfling over there or something, or they're $2, $5, whatever they are. So, and
My collection is pretty tight these days. I don't think I have a lot of that left.
well, just bring
A
your
lot of
other stuff.
spares.
There's a few things in that cabinet that I want, Babs.
Yeah, but they're not spare, buddy. They're not spare.
Just yeah, so next episode will be all our big quizzes, but I wanted to do like a down underrated player or a down underrated skill or something that we can just sort of have a bit of roundtable discussion on. Pick a player or pick a skill, and then just we'll
But we
come
can
to the
also
table.
get Dr. Nick to come in on that one as well if he wants to present something as well.
Yeah, we have the other thing we got to do is hook up with the Powtearoa boys when we get over to Auckland as well. Maybe whether we record a full segment or something in there.
So if you want to hook up with
Hooking up.
Powtearoa boys, that's
Yeah,
on
I
you.
know.
I'm sorry, mate, I'm taken.
We're not hooking up with Dr. Nick, just saying. He's a sexy man, but no.
Well, there's 2 different meanings, Babs, and you can tell by context, right? So
What happens at Greenstone Cup stays at Greenstone Cup. Yeah, well, next episode will be all
It's
us.
2025, Babs. Don't tell me what I can and can't do.
Which is really appropriate, that one.
as long as they're all consenting adults.
That's
Oh.
it. That's
You say that way too often, Millsy. It makes me wonder.
stays at Greenstone Cup. Yep.
Well, you can simplify it even further. Just what happens on tour stays
Yep.
on tour.
And just remember,
think you need to
Yeah,
be a
just
little bit
remember,
more
it's
careful
only
in your
harassment if
language
you
use
don't
there.
like
This
it.
is the second time now you talk about hooking up with someone. I don't think it means quite what you.
I
I don't think it means quite what you
know.
mean it to mean.
I've got it rehearsed really well.
Oh,
HR again? Okay, where's
And
that
he's
quote?
taken. Just
how
saying.
about a joke?
Down Underworld Denizens discusses Games Workshop's games and products such as Blood Bowl, Gutter Bowl, Dungeon Bowl, and Crunch. We also discuss other fantasy football board games and concepts from other companies such as Dread Ball, Guild Ball, Grind, Elf Ball, Myth and Goal, Blitz Bowl, Chaos Ball, Monsters of the Midway, and Feud Ball. We discuss products and services such as miniatures or software made by producers suitable for several of these board games. Games Workshop terms and conditions in point 2.1 state they grant the user the non-exclusive right to use their authorised intellectual property for broadcasting and other media-related activities such as commentary and opinion pieces, blogs, and other similar informational and descriptive purposes. Down Underworld Denizens respects and honours these terms.